Listen, I need you to hear me clearly. Everybody wants success, but not everybody understands what success really is. See, you chasing money, chasing fame, chasing likes. That's greed. But the people who win in life, they wake up with gratitude. You mad because you don't have more, but you forgot to thank God for what you already got. Let me tell you something. When I was homeless, sleeping in abandoned buildings, I didn't have $1 to my name, but I had bread. When you still got bread, you still got a chance. Most of you are losing, not because you don't have opportunity. You're losing because you're ungrateful. You want more, but you don't respect what you have. And let me break it down for you. Backhand index pointing right greed says, it's not enough. Backhand index pointing right gratitude says, I'll multiply what I have. And that's the difference between average and great. You don't build a legacy by chasing more. You build a legacy by appreciating what's already in your hands. Because when you're grateful, you work harder. You complain less, you see opportunities, others ignore. Collision gratitude turns pain into power. Collision gratitude turns struggle into strength. Stop waiting for life to give you something. Start using what you already got. You got time? Use it. You got energy? Use it. You got a dream? Fight for it. And hear me when I say this. When you want success as bad as you want to breathe, and you're grateful for every step of the journey, that's when success becomes inevitable. So today, don't chase more. Chase meaning, chase purpose, chase gratitude, because real success is not what you get. It's who you become. When you study the journey of people like Eric Thomas, you begin to notice a pattern that most people overlook. Success doesn't start with talent, resources, or even opportunity. It starts with gratitude. Not the surface level of thank you that people throw around casually, but a deep internal recognition of value in what already exists in your life. Gratitude is not passive. It is an active force that reshapes how you think, how you act, and ultimately how you rise. Most people wake up already losing because the first thing they do is focus on what's missing. They open their eyes and immediately think about what they don't have. More money, better opportunities, a different life. That mindset quietly drains their energy before the day even begins. Gratitude does the opposite. It redirects your focus toward what is present, what is working, and what is possible. And that shift in focus is powerful because your energy follows your attention. When you focus on lack, you create frustration. When you focus on abundance, even in small forms, you create momentum. Gratitude grounds you in reality. It forces you to acknowledge that no matter how difficult your situation is, there is still something to build from. You may not have everything you want, but you have something. Maybe it's your health, your time, your ability to learn, your resilience, or even just another day to try again. That's something G's where success begins. People who fail often overlook what they already have because they are too distracted by what they don't. People who succeed learn to maximize what's in their hands. When you operate from gratitude, your perspective shifts from entitlement to responsibility. You stop saying, I deserve more, and start asking, what can I do with what I have? That question changes everything. It moves you from a passive state to an active one. It forces you to engage with your reality instead of resisting it. And in that engagement, you begin to grow. Gratitude also builds mental toughness. Life is not going to be easy. There will be setbacks, failures, disappointments, and moments where everything feels like it's falling apart. Without gratitude, those moments can break you because they reinforce the belief that life is unfair and against you. But with gratitude, even those difficult moments become part of your development. You start to see challenges not as punishments, but as opportunities to learn, adapt, and strengthen your character. Think about it this way. If you are grateful even in hardship, you become unshakable. Because now your mindset is not dependent on perfect conditions. You don't need everything to go right to keep moving forward. You don't need validation, comfort, or ease. You've trained your mind to find value in every situation. And once you reach that level, it becomes very hard for life to defeat you. Another important aspect of gratitude is that it eliminates comparison. One of the biggest traps people fall into is measuring their lives against others. Social media, society, and even personal circles can make it seem like everyone else is ahead, doing better, living bigger. That comparison creates dissatisfaction and eventually greed. You start chasing things not because you need them, but because you think you're supposed to have them. Gratitude breaks that cycle. It pulls you back into your own journey and reminds you that your path is unique. It teaches you to value your progress, no matter how small it may seem. Gratitude also fuels consistency. Success is rarely about one big moment. It's about showing up every day and doing the work. But staying consistent is difficult when you feel like nothing's happening or when you're constantly focused on what's missing. Gratitude gives you a reason to keep going. It helps you appreciate the process, not just the outcome. When you're grateful for the opportunity to work, to learn, to improve, you're more likely to stay committed even when results are slow. There's also a connection between gratitude and humility. When you're truly grateful, you recognize that not everything you have is solely because of you. You acknowledge the people, circumstances, and even struggles that contributed to your growth. That humility keeps you grounded. It prevents arrogance and keeps you open to learning. And that openness is essential for long-term success because the moment you think you know everything is the moment you stop growing. Gratitude strengthens relationships as well. People are naturally drawn to those who appreciate them. When you express genuine gratitude, you build trust, respect, and connection. Whether it's in personal life or professional environments, those connections become valuable assets. Success is rarely achieved alone, and gratitude helps you build the kind of relationships that support and sustain your journey. It's important to understand that gratitude is a discipline, not just a feeling. You won't always feel grateful, especially when life gets hard. But that's exactly when it matters the most. Practicing gratitude means intentionally choosing to focus on what is still good, still possible, still within your control. It means training your mind to look for value instead of automatically seeing lack. At first, it might feel forced. You might struggle to find things to be grateful for, especially if you're going through a difficult time, but over time, it becomes natural. Your brain starts to rewire itself. You begin to notice things you previously ignored. Small wins, moments of peace, opportunities hidden in challenges. That awareness creates a positive feedback loop. The more you notice, the more you appreciate. The more you appreciate, the more motivated you become. Gratitude also enhances clarity. When your mind is cluttered with complaints and dissatisfaction, it becomes difficult to think clearly. You make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. But when you practice gratitude, your mind becomes calmer and more focused. You're able to see situations more objectively. You're able to identify what truly matters and what doesn't. That clarity helps you make better decisions, and better decisions lead to better outcomes. There is also a deeper level to gratitude that goes beyond external circumstances. It's about being grateful for who you are becoming. Growth is often uncomfortable. It requires you to step outside your comfort zone, face your weaknesses, and push through resistance. Without gratitude, that process can feel overwhelming. But when you're grateful for the opportunity to grow, even the discomfort becomes meaningful. You start to value the journey of becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable. Gratitude shifts your focus from outcomes to effort. Instead of obsessing over results that are not yet in your control, you begin to appreciate the work you're putting in. That shift reduces anxiety and increases satisfaction. You start to find fulfillment in the act of trying, improving, and progressing. And ironically, when you focus less on the outcome and more on the process, the outcomes often improve as well. Another powerful effect of gratitude is that it attracts opportunities, not in a mystical sense, but in a practical one. When you are positive, focused, and appreciative, you naturally behave differently. You communicate better, you take more initiative, and you're more open to new experiences. People notice that. Opportunities often come through people, and people are more likely to invest in someone who has a strong, grounded, and appreciative mindset. Gratitude also reduces stress. When you are constantly thinking about what you lack, your mind stays in a state of tension. You feel pressure, urgency, and dissatisfaction. Over time, that stress can affect your mental and physical health. Gratitude acts as a counterbalance. It brings your attention back to the present moment and reminds you that not everything is wrong. That sense of balance helps you stay calm and composed, even in challenging situations. It's worth noting that gratitude does not mean settling or becoming complacent. It does not mean you stop striving for more or improving your life. Instead, it creates a head foundation for growth. You can still have ambition, goals, and a desire for more, but those things are no longer driven by lack or dissatisfaction. They are driven by purpose and vision. You're not chasing success to fill a void. You're building success from a place of fullness. Gratitude also teaches patience. In a world that constantly pushes for instant results, it's easy to become frustrated when things don't happen quickly. But meaningful success takes time. It requires persistence, learning, and adaptation. Gratitude appreciates the pace of your journey. It reminds you that progress, no matter how slow, is still progress. That patience allows you to stay committed long enough to see real results. When you fully embrace gratitude, you begin to realize that success is not just about what you achieve, but how you experience the journey. Two people can have the same results, but completely different levels of fulfillment. The one who practiced gratitude will feel a sense of satisfaction, purpose, and peace. The one who operated from greed or lack will always feel like something is missing, no matter how much they achieve. Ultimately, gratitude transforms the way you live. It shifts your mindset, strengthens your character, improves your relationships, and enhances your overall well-being. It becomes the foundation upon which everything else is built. Without it, success feels empty. With it, even the smallest victories feel meaningful. And over time, those small, meaningful moments compound into something much greater. That is why gratitude is not just a nice idea or a temporary feeling. It is a fundamental principle of real success. It shapes how you see the world, how you respond to challenges, and how you move forward. It turns what you have into enough and enough into more. When you look closely at the lives of people who relentlessly chase more money, more status, more recognition, you begin to see a pattern that often goes unnoticed at first. On the surface, it looks like ambition. It looks like drive. It even looks like success. But underneath that constant pursuit, there is often something deeper at work, a quiet dissatisfaction that never really goes away. That is the nature of greed. It is not just the desire to improve your life. It is the inability to feel content no matter how much you achieve. Even figures as influential as Eric Thomas have repeatedly emphasized that there is a difference between hunger and greed. Hunger pushes you to grow, to work, to become better. Greed, on the other hand, traps you in a cycle where nothing is ever enough. You reach one goal, instead of feeling fulfilled, your mind immediately jumps to the next thing you don't have. The satisfaction is temporary, and the emptiness returns stronger each time. Greed distorts your perception of success. It convinces you that fulfillment lies somewhere in the future, just beyond the next achievement. It tells you once you get this, then you'll be happy. But when you get there, the target moves. It always moves. That's the trick. Greed keeps you chasing a finish line that doesn't exist. And because of that, you never truly arrive. This constant chasing creates a dangerous mindset. Instead of appreciating progress, you start overlooking it. Instead of valuing what you built, you minimize it. You might achieve something that once felt impossible, but because your focus is locked on what's next, you barely acknowledge it. Over time, this erodes your sense of accomplishment. You begin to feel like you're running hard but going nowhere emotionally. Greed also feeds comparison. It thrives on looking at others and measuring your worth against theirs. No matter how much you have, there will always be someone with more money, more influence, more recognition. When your mindset is rooted in greed, those comparisons become painful. Instead of being inspired, you feel inadequate. Instead of being motivated, you feel pressure. And that pressure can push you into decisions that are not aligned with your values just to keep up with an illusion of success. Another consequence of greed is that it disconnects you from purpose. When your primary focus is accumulation, you lose sight of why you started in the first place. Work becomes less about meaning and more about gain. Relationships become transactional. Time becomes something you're constantly trading for more. And in that process, the deeper aspects of life, connection, growth, impact start to fade into the background. Greed can also lead to burnout. When you're constantly pushing for more without ever allowing yourself to feel satisfied, you create an unsustainable pace. You don't rest because you feel like you haven't done enough. You don't celebrate because you think you haven't achieved enough. You don't slow down because you're afraid of falling behind. Eventually, your mind and body start to push back. Exhaustion sets in, motivation drops, and what once felt like ambition starts to feel like a burden. There's also a psychological toll that comes with greed. It keeps your mind in a state of lack even when you objectively have enough. You might have financial stability, opportunities, and accomplishment. But if your mindset is focused on what's missing, you will still feel deprived. That feeling of deprivation is what creates emptiness. It's not about what you actually have, it's about how you perceive it. Greed also impacts your relationships in subtle but significant ways. When your focus is primarily on getting more, you may start to see people in terms of what they can offer you. Networking replaces genuine connection. Collaboration becomes strategic rather than meaningful. But over time, this can create a sense of isolation. You might be surrounded by people, but the depth of those relationships is missing. And without strong, authentic connections, success can feel hollow. Another important aspect to consider is how greed influences decision-making. When you're driven by the need for more, you may prioritize short-term gains over long-term stability. You might take risks that are well thought out or compromise your values for immediate rewards. In the moment, those decisions might seem justified, but over time, they can lead to regret. Greed narrows your focus, making it harder to see the bigger picture. It's also worth noting that greed is often disguised as necessity. You might tell yourself that you need more money, more success, or more recognition for security or validation. But in many cases, that need is not rooted in reality. It's rooted in fear. Fear of not being enough, fear of falling behind, fear of being overlooked. Greed feeds on those fears and amplifies them, creating a cycle that is difficult to break. Breaking free from greed requires awareness. You have to recognize when your pursuit of more is no longer serving you. You have to question your motivations and ask yourself whether you are chasing something meaningful or simply reacting to a sense of lack. That awareness is the first step toward change. It also requires redefining success. If success is only measured by external achievements, then greed will always have room to grow. There will always be another level, another milestone, another comparison. But when you start to include internal factors such as fulfillment, peace of mind, and alignment with your values, your definition of success becomes more balanced. It becomes something you can actually experience, not just chase. Replacing greed with a healthier mindset does not mean losing ambition. It means grounding your ambition in purpose rather than lack. It means striving for more because you want to grow, contribute, and create, not because you feel incomplete without it. That shift changes the entire experience of pursuing success. It's also important to develop the ability to pause and reflect. In a fast-paced world, it's easy to move from one goal to the next without taking a moment to acknowledge what you've already achieved. Reflection allows you to reconnect with your journey. It gives you a chance to see how far you've come and to appreciate the effort that got you there. Without that reflection, everything starts to blur together and nothing feels significant. Greed often promises fulfillment but delivers the opposite. It tells you that more will make you feel better, but in reality, it conditions you to always want more. It creates a gap between where you are and where you think you should be, and that gap becomes a source of constant dissatisfaction. The larger the gap, the stronger the feeling of emptiness. Understanding this dynamic is crucial because it allows you to make conscious choices about how you approach your goals. You can still aim high, work hard, and achieve great things, but you can do so from a place that is not driven by endless craving. You can build a life that is both successful and fulfilling, rather than one that looks successful but feels empty. There's also a deeper realization that comes with overcoming greed. The understanding that fulfillment is not something you acquire. It is something you cultivate. It comes from how you think, how you act, and how you engage with your life. External achievements can enhance your life, but they cannot replace that internal foundation. When you let go of greed, you create space for other qualities to grow: gratitude, contentment, purpose, and clarity. Those qualities not only improve your well-being, but also enhance your ability to succeed in a sustainable way. You become more focused, more resilient, and more aligned with what truly matters. In the end, the problem with greed is not that it makes you want more. It's that it makes you unable to appreciate what you already have. And without appreciation, even the greatest achievements can feel insignificant. That is why greed leads to emptiness. It disconnects you from the very things that make success meaningful, leaving you in a constant state of pursuit without ever feeling fulfilled. One of the most overlooked truths about growth is that your ability to appreciate what you currently have directly determines your capacity to handle more. People often believe that the next level of life, more money, more responsibility, more success, will automatically bring satisfaction. But if you don't value what's already in your possession, you won't suddenly develop that ability when you gain more. The mindset you operate with now is the same mindset you will carry forward. That's why appreciating what you have is not a soft concept. It is a critical requirement for sustainable progress. When individuals like Eric Thomas talk about success, they often highlight discipline, effort, and persistence. But beneath all of that is a deeper principle: respect for the present. If you cannot respect your current resources, your time, your skills, your opportunity, you are signaling that you are not ready for expansion. Because more is not just an increase in quantity, it is an increase in responsibility, and responsibility requires awareness, care, and intentionality. Most people fall into the trap of postponing appreciation. They tell themselves, I'll be happy when I get there, wherever there happens to be. That mindset creates a constant delay in fulfillment. Every milestone becomes a stepping stone rather than something to experience. You achieve something, but instead of allowing yourself to feel the value of it, you immediately shift your focus to the next goal. Over time, this creates a sense that nothing is ever enough, even when you've made significant progress. Appreciation, on the other hand, anchors you in the present. It forces you to recognize that what you have right now once existed as something you hoped for. There was a time when your current situation, no matter how imperfect, was a goal. Forgetting that disconnects you from your own journey. Remembering it reconnects you with the effort, growth, and persistence that brought you here. Another important aspect of appreciation is that it changes how you use your resources. When you value something, you naturally take better care of it. You become more intentional. If you appreciate your time, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. If you appreciate your skills, you invest in improving them. If you appreciate your opportunities, you maximize them instead of taking them for granted. Appreciation turns passive ownership into active utilization. Without appreciation, resources are often misused or underused. People complain about not having enough while simultaneously neglecting what they already have. They want better opportunities, but fail to fully engage with the ones in front of them. They want growth, but avoid the discomfort required to use their current abilities to the fullest. This creates a paradox. They are waiting for more while not fully using what they already possess. Appreciation also builds confidence. When you acknowledge what you have and what you've accomplished, you reinforce a sense of capability. You remind yourself that you are able to progress, to adapt, and to overcome challenges. That confidence is essential when pursuing bigger goals. Without it, you may hesitate, doubt yourself, or feel unprepared for the next level. With it, you move forward with a stronger sense of belief in your ability to handle what comes next. There's also a psychological stability that comes from appreciation. When your sense of value is tied only to future achievements, your emotional state becomes unstable. It fluctuates based on progress, setbacks, and external validation. But when you appreciate what you already have, you create a more stable foundation. You are less dependent on immediate results to feel good about your life. This stability allows you to take risks, face challenges, and pursue long-term goals without being constantly shaken by short-term outcomes. Appreciation plays a crucial role in preventing burnout as well. Constantly chasing more without acknowledging what you've already achieved can make the journey feel endless and exhausting. It creates the impression that your efforts are never enough. But when you take the time to appreciate your progress, you create moments of rest and satisfaction within the journey. These moments act as fuel, helping you maintain your energy and motivation over time. Another key element is that appreciation enhances your awareness. It trains your mind to notice details that you might otherwise ignore. Small improvements, subtle opportunities, incremental growth, these are often overlooked when your focus is solely on big outcomes. But these smaller elements are what compound over time into significant results. By appreciating them, you become more engaged with the process, which increases your effectiveness. Appreciation also strengthens your ability to handle setbacks. When things go wrong, and they inevitably will, it's easy to feel like everything is falling apart. But if you have developed the habit of appreciating what you have, you are more likely to recognize that not everything is lost. You still have resources, skills, and opportunities to work with. That perspective makes it easier to recover, adapt, and continue moving forward. There's also a relational aspect to appreciation. When you value the people in your life, mentors, colleagues, friends, family, you build stronger, more meaningful connections. These relationships often play a significant role in your growth and success. People are more willing to support, guide, and collaborate with someone who genuinely appreciates them. In contrast, a lack of appreciation can lead to strained relationships and missed opportunities. Appreciation also keeps your ego in check. As you achieve more, there is a risk of becoming complacent or entitled. You might start to believe that you deserve everything you have without recognizing the effort, support, and circumstances that contributed to it. Appreciation counteracts that by reminding you of the journey. It keeps you grounded and open to learning, which is essential for continued growth. It's important to understand that appreciating what you have does not mean settling for less. It does not mean giving up on your ambitions or lowering your standards. Instead, it creates a healthier relationship with your goals. You can still strive for more, but you do so from a place of respect and awareness rather than dissatisfaction. This balance allows you to pursue growth without losing your sense of fulfillment. Appreciation also influences how you set and pursue goals. When you value your current position, you are more likely to set goals that are aligned with your strengths and circumstances. You are not chasing something just because it looks appealing or because others have it. You are building on what you already have, which makes your progress more sustainable and meaningful. There is also a compounding effect to appreciation. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Over time, it shifts from being a conscious effort to an automatic mindset. You begin to see value in places where you previously saw none. This expanded awareness increases your ability to identify opportunities, solve problems, and create progress. Appreciation also improves your decision-making. When you are aware of what you have and what it's worth, you are less likely to make impulsive choices that could jeopardize it. You think more carefully about risks, trade-offs, and long-term consequences. This leads to more thoughtful and effective decisions, which contribute to steady growth. Another important dimension is that appreciation fosters patience. When you recognize the value of your current situation, you are less likely to rush the process. You understand that growth takes time and that each stage has its purpose. This patience allows you to focus on doing things properly rather than quickly, which often leads to better outcomes. Appreciation also creates a sense of ownership. When you value something, you take responsibility for it. You don't wait for external factors to improve your situation. You take action with what you have. This sense of ownership is a key driver of success because it puts you in control of your progress. You are no longer dependent on circumstances. You are actively shaping them. It's also worth considering how appreciation affects your long-term fulfillment. Achieving more without appreciating it leads to a cycle where satisfaction is always temporary. You reach a goal, feel good for a moment, and then move on. But when you appreciate your achievements, you extend that sense of fulfillment. You allow yourself to fully experience the value of what you've accomplished, which contributes to a deeper sense of satisfaction. Appreciation also aligns you with reality. It prevents you from living in a constant state of not enough. Instead, it grounds you in what is real and present. This alignment makes it easier to navigate challenges and make decisions because you are not operating from a distorted perspective. Ultimately, appreciating what you have before chasing more is about building a strong foundation. It ensures that as you grow, you do so in a way that is sustainable, meaningful, and fulfilling. It allows you to carry forward a mindset that enhances your experience of success rather than diminishing it. Without appreciation, growth can feel empty and unstable. With it, growth becomes something you can truly experience and enjoy as it happens. At the core of every action you take, every decision you make, and every result you experience, there is one driving force that often goes unnoticed: your mindset. It is not just a background factor, it is the lens through which you interpret reality. Two people can be placed in the exact same situation, given the same resources and face the same obstacles, yet produce completely different outcomes. The difference is rarely luck. More often than not, it comes down to how they think. When you listen to individuals like Eric Thomas, you begin to understand that mindset is not something abstract or optional. It is a practical tool that shapes your behavior in real time. The way you see yourself determines how much effort you put in. The way you interpret challenges determines whether you persist or quit. The way you define failure determines whether you learn or withdraw. Your mindset is not just influencing your life, it is actively creating your experience of it. One of the most important aspects of mindset is belief. What you believe about yourself sets the boundaries for what you think is possible. If you believe you are capable, you are more likely to take risks, try new approaches, and push through difficulty. If you believe you are limited, you will unconsciously avoid situations that challenge that belief. This is not always obvious because these beliefs often operate beneath your awareness. You might tell yourself that you want success, but if your internal belief system contradicts that desire, your actions will reflect the belief, not the intention. Beliefs are formed over time through experiences, environment, and repeated thoughts. If you have experienced failure, criticism, or doubt, it is easy to internalize those experiences and turn them into limiting beliefs. You might start to see yourself as someone who is not good enough or not capable. These beliefs become filters that shape how you interpret new situations. Or a setback becomes confirmation of your limitations rather than an opportunity to learn. However, the same process works in the opposite direction. When you intentionally cultivate empowering beliefs, you begin to see possibilities where you once saw barriers. You start to interpret challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats to your identity. This shift does not change the external circumstances immediately, but it changes how you respond to them. And your response is what ultimately determines your results. Another critical element of mindset is focus. What you choose to focus on expands in your awareness. If your focus is on problems, obstacles, and limitations, those will dominate your thinking. You will feel overwhelmed, stuck, and discouraged. But if your focus is on solutions, opportunities, and progress, your thinking becomes more constructive. You start to look for ways forward instead of reasons to stop. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means choosing which aspects of reality you give your attention to. Focus also affects your emotional state. When you dwell on negative aspects, your emotions tend to follow, creating a cycle that reinforces itself. Negative thoughts lead to negative emotions, which then lead to more negative thoughts. Breaking that cycle requires a conscious shift in focus. By directing your attention toward what is working, what is possible, and what you can control, you begin to create a more positive and productive mental environment. Mindset also influences your relationship with failure. Many people see failure as something to be avoided at all costs. They associate it with embarrassment, inadequacy, or loss. As a result, they become risk averse. They stick to what is safe and familiar, even if it limits their growth. But a different mindset reframes failure as feedback. Instead of asking, why did I fail? You ask, what can I learn from this? That simple shift turns failure from a stopping point into a stepping stone. This perspective is essential for long-term success because failure is inevitable. No meaningful goal can be achieved without encountering obstacles and setbacks. The question is not whether you will fail, but how you will respond when you do. A growth-oriented mindset allows you to extract value from failure, making each setback a source of information that guides your next attempt. Another dimension of mindset is resilience. Life will test you in ways that you cannot always predict or control. There will be moments when things do not go according to plan, when effort does not immediately lead to results, and when external circumstances create additional challenges. In those moments, your mindset becomes your anchor. It determines whether you see the situation as temporary or permanent, as manageable or overwhelming. Resilience is not about ignoring difficulty. It is about maintaining a sense of agency in the face of it. It is the belief that, regardless of what happens, you have the ability to respond, adapt, and continue. This belief does not eliminate challenges, but it changes how you experience them. Instead of feeling powerless, you feel engaged. Instead of giving up, you look for alternatives. Your mindset also shapes your habits. The way you think influences what you do consistently. If you have a mindset that values growth, you are more likely to engage in behaviors that support that growth, learning, practicing, reflecting, and improving. If your mindset is fixed or negative, you may avoid these behaviors because they require effort and expose you to potential failure. Habits, in turn, shape your results. This creates a cycle where mindset influences behavior. Behavior influences results, and results reinforce mindset. If you want to change your results, you have to address the root of that cycle, which is your thinking. Changing habits without changing mindset often leads to temporary results because the underlying beliefs and perspectives remain the same. Another important aspect is how mindset affects your perception of effort. Some people see effort as a sign of weakness, believing that if something is difficult, it means they are not naturally good at it. This belief discourages them from pushing through challenges. Others see effort as a necessary part of growth. They understand that difficulty is not a sign of inability, but a sign that they are expanding their capability. This mindset makes them more willing to persist, even when progress is slow. Mindset also influences how you handle success. While it might seem counterintuitive, success can create its own challenges. It can lead to complacency, overconfidence, or fear of losing what you have gained. A grounded mindset helps you navigate these challenges by keeping you focused on continuous improvement rather than temporary achievements. It reminds you that success is not a final destination, but an ongoing process. Another layer to consider, self-talk. The way you speak to yourself has a direct impact on your mindset. Negative self-talk can undermine your confidence and reinforce limiting beliefs. Positive, constructive self-talk can build resilience and encourage persistence. This is not about blind optimism. It is about being intentional with your internal dialogue. Instead of criticizing yourself for mistakes, you guide yourself toward improvement. Your environment also plays a role in shaping your mindset. The people you interact with, the information you consume, and the experiences you engage in all contribute to your thinking patterns. If you surround yourself with negativity, doubt, and limitation, it becomes more difficult to maintain a positive and growth-oriented mindset. On the other hand, an environment that encourages learning, effort, and possibility can reinforce the mindset you are trying to develop. It is also important to recognize that mindset is not fixed. It can be developed and refined over time. This requires awareness and intentional effort. You have to notice your patterns of thinking, identify beliefs that are not serving you, and actively work to replace them with more constructive ones. This process is not instant, but it is achievable with consistency. Mindset also affects how you interpret other people's actions and opinions. If you have a defensive mindset, you may see feedback as criticism and react negatively. If you have a growth-oriented mindset, you are more likely to see feedback as an opportunity to improve. This openness can accelerate your development because it allows you to learn from others instead of resisting their input. Another important factor is how mindset influences your vision. The way you think determines how far you are willing to look ahead and how big you are willing to dream. A limited mindset restricts your vision to what feels safe and achievable. An expansive mindset allows you to imagine possibilities beyond your current circumstance. This vision then guides your actions, setting the direction for your efforts. Mindset also shapes your relationship with uncertainty. The future is inherently uncertain, and pursuing meaningful goals often involves stepping into the unknown. A fearful mindset may avoid uncertainty, choosing predictability over potential. A confident mindset embraces uncertainty as part of the process, understanding that growth often requires navigating unfamiliar territory. Ultimately, your mindset is the foundation upon which everything else is built. It influences your beliefs, your focus, your habits, your resilience, and your decisions. It determines how you interpret your experiences and how you respond to them. While external factors will always play a role in your life, your mindset is the one factor that remains within your influence. By becoming aware of how you think and intentionally shaping your mindset, you gain a powerful tool for creating change. You begin to see that your reality is not just something that happens to you, but something that you actively participate in shaping. This realization is not about ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It is about recognizing that your perspective has the power to transform your experience and ultimately your results. Pain is one of the most universal human experiences. It is also one of the most misunderstood. Most people instinctively try to avoid it, suppress it, or escape from it as quickly as possible. That reaction is natural. Pain is uncomfortable, sometimes overwhelming, and often unpredictable. But what separates those who remain stuck from those who grow is not the absence of pain. It is the way they interpret and use it. Pain, when approached with the right mindset, can become a powerful source of transformation. If you listen to voices like Eric Thomas, you'll notice that pain is never framed as something purely negative. Instead, it is presented as a necessary part of the journey toward growth and success. This does not mean pain is easy or desirable, but it does mean it has value. The challenge lies in recognizing that value when you are in the middle of the experience, not just after it has passed. Pain often carries information. It signals that something is wrong, something needs attention, or something needs to change. Physical pain alerts you to injury or illness. Emotional pain can reveal unmet needs, unresolved issues, or misaligned priorities. Ignoring pain or numbing it may provide temporary relief, but it prevents you from understanding what the pain is trying to communicate. When you take the time to examine it, pain becomes a teacher. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is moving from the question of why is this happening to me to what can this teach me? The first question often leads to frustration, victimhood, and a sense of helplessness. The second question creates space for growth. It positions you as an active participant in your experience rather than a passive recipient. This shift does not eliminate the pain, but it gives it purpose. Pain also has the ability to reveal your true character. When things are going well, it is easy to feel confident, motivated, and focused. But when you face difficulty, when plans fall apart, when you experience loss, when you encounter failure, your response becomes more telling. Pain strips away comfort and exposes your habits, your beliefs, and your level of resilience. While this can be uncomfortable, it is also valuable because it shows you where you need to grow. Another important aspect of pain is that it builds resilience. Each time you face a challenge and push through it, you strengthen your ability to handle future difficulties. This is similar to how physical exercise works. When you put your muscles under stress, they adapt and become stronger over time. Emotional and mental resilience develop in a similar way. Without some level of stress or difficulty, there is no stimulus for growth. However, resilience is not just about enduring pain. It is about learning from it. Simply going through difficult experiences does not automatically lead to growth. It is possible to experience pain repeatedly without gaining anything from it if you do not reflect on it or change your approach. Growth comes from engaging with the experience, analyzing what happened, identifying what you can control, and adjusting your behavior moving forward. Pain can also act as a catalyst for change. Many people remain in situations that are not serving them. Unfulfilling jobs, unhealthy relationships, limiting environments, because they are comfortable or familiar. Change can feel risky and uncertain, so they stay where they are. But when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of change, it creates a turning point. That discomfort pushes them to take action, to make decisions they might have avoided otherwise. In this way, pain can break patterns that would otherwise continue indefinitely. It disrupts complacency and forces you to confront reality. While this process can be difficult, it often leads to breakthroughs that would not have occurred without that initial discomfort. Pain, in this sense, becomes the starting point for transformation. Another dimension of pain is that it deepens your perspective. When you go through challenging experiences, you gain a level of understanding that cannot be acquired through theory alone. You develop empathy for others who are going through similar struggles. You become more aware of the complexities of life. This expanded perspective can influence how you interact with others, how you make decisions, and how you approach your goals. Pain also has the ability to clarify what truly matters. In moments of difficulty, distractions and superficial concerns tend to fall away. You are forced to focus on what is essential, your values, your priorities, your relationships. This clarity can be incredibly valuable because it helps you align your action with what is genuinely important rather than what is merely convenient or expected. It is also important to recognize that not all pain is the same. There is a difference between pain that leads to growth and pain that is unnecessary or harmful. Part of the process is learning to distinguish between the two. Growth-oriented pain often comes from stepping outside your comfort zone, taking on challenges, and pursuing meaningful goals. Harmful pain may come from situations that are destructive or misaligned with your well-being. Understanding this distinction allows you to engage with pain in a way that is constructive rather than damaging. Your mindset plays a crucial role in how you experience pain. If you see it as something purely negative, you are more likely to resist it, avoid it, or be overwhelmed by it. If you see it as something that can contribute to your growth, you are more likely to approach it with curiosity and determination. This does not mean you enjoy the pain, but it changes your relationship with it. It becomes something you work through rather than something you are controlled by. Pain can also strengthen your discipline. When you are working toward a goal, there will be moments of discomfort. Early mornings, long hours, setbacks, and sacrifices. If you are not willing to endure that discomfort, progress becomes difficult. But when you understand that this type of pain is part of the process, you become more willing to accept it. You start to see it as an investment rather than a burden. Another important aspect is how pain influences your identity. The experiences you go through, especially difficult ones, shape how you see yourself. If you consistently overcome challenges, you begin to view yourself as resilient, capable, and strong. This identity then reinforces your behavior, making you more likely to take on new challenges and persist through them. At the same time, it is important to process pain rather than suppress it. Ignoring your emotions or pretending that everything is fine can lead to unresolved issues that affect your well-being over time. Processing pain means acknowledging it, understanding it, and allowing yourself to feel it without being overwhelmed by it. This balanced approach enables you to move forward without carrying unnecessary emotional weight. Pain can also enhance your appreciation for positive experience. When you have gone through difficult times, you are more likely to value moments of ease, success, and happiness. You develop a deeper sense of gratitude because you understand the contrast. This appreciation adds richness to your experiences and contributes to a more fulfilling life. Another layer to consider is that pain often precedes growth, but it does not guarantee it. The outcome depends on how you respond. Two people can go through similar experiences and come out very differently. One may become stronger, wiser, and more determined. The other may become discouraged, resentful, or stuck. The difference lies in their interpretation and actions. Pain also teaches patience. When you are in the middle of a difficult experience, it can feel like it will never end. Progress may be slow, and the outcome may be uncertain. Learning to endure that period without losing hope is a valuable skill. It helps you stay committed to your goals even when results are not immediate. It is also worth noting that pain can uncover hidden strengths. In comfortable situations, you may never fully test your limits. But when you are pushed beyond your comfort zone, you discover abilities you did not know you had. You find ways to adapt, to problem solve, and to persevere. These discoveries expand your sense of what is possible. Ultimately, transforming pain into power is about changing your relationship with it. It is about recognizing that while you cannot always control what happens to you, you can control how you respond. It is about using difficult experiences as opportunities to learn, grow, and become stronger. This does not mean seeking out pain or minimizing its impact, but it does mean refusing to let it define you in a negative way. When you adopt this perspective, pain becomes less of an obstacle and more of a resource. It becomes something that contributes to your development rather than something that holds you back. Over time, this approach builds a level of resilience and strength that allows you to face challenges with confidence, knowing that even in difficulty, there is potential for growth. There's a common belief that success begins with a strong desire, a deep, burning passion that pushes you toward your goals. While desire can be a powerful spark, it is not what sustains progress. Desire is emotional, and emotions are inconsistent. Some days you feel motivated, energized, and ready to take on the world. Other days, that feeling disappears completely. If your progress depends on desire alone, it will always be unstable. This is why discipline, not desire, is the true starting point of success. When you listen to speakers like Eric Thomas, one message comes through clearly. You cannot rely on how you feel if you want to achieve something meaningful. Feelings change, circumstances change, energy levels fluctuate, but discipline creates consistency regardless of those changes. It is the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you do not feel like doing it. Desire often creates the illusion of progress without actual movement. You can want something deeply, think about it constantly, talk about it passionately, and still make no real progress toward it. Desire lives in intention, but success is built through action. Discipline bridges that gap. It takes what exists in your mind and translates it into behavior that produces results. One of the key differences between desire and discipline is reliability. Desire is unpredictable. It can be strong one moment and weak the next. Discipline, when developed properly, becomes dependable. It allows you to show up consistently, even on days when motivation is low. This consistency is what creates momentum. Small, repeat momentum, significant outcomes, leading to significant outcomes. Discipline also removes the need for constant decision-making. When you rely on desire, you have to decide every day whether you feel like taking action. This creates friction. It opens the door for excuses, distractions, and procrastination. Discipline, on the other hand, turns actions into habits. When something becomes a habit, it requires less mental effort. You do it because it is part of your routine, not because you feel motivated in the moment. Another important aspect of discipline is that it builds trust with yourself. Every time you commit to something and follow through, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable. This self-trust is essential because it affects how you approach challenges. If you trust yourself to take action, you are more likely to set ambitious goals and pursue them with confidence. If you lack that trust, you may hesitate or avoid challenges altogether. Discipline also shapes your identity. The actions you take consistently become part of how you see yourself. If you consistently show up, work hard, and push through difficulty, you begin to identify as someone who is disciplined. This identity then influences your future behavior. You act in ways that align with how you see yourself, creating a reinforcing cycle. Another key point is that discipline helps you manage discomfort. Pursuing meaningful goals often involves doing things that are not immediately enjoyable, waking up early, practicing skills repeatedly, facing rejection, or working through complex problems. Desire may get you started, but it often fades when discomfort arises. Discipline allows you to continue despite that discomfort. It reframes the experience, helping you see it as part of the process rather than something to avoid. It is also important to understand that discipline is not about perfection. It is about consistency. There will be days when you fall short, make mistakes, or fail to meet your standards. Discipline is not about never slipping. It is about getting back on track quickly. It is about maintaining a long-term commitment to your goals, even when short-term setbacks occur. Discipline also creates structure in your life. Without structure, it is easy to become reactive, constantly responding to external demands and distraction. With discipline, you take control of your time and energy. You decide what is important and allocate your resources accordingly. This structure allows you to make steady progress rather than moving in random or inconsistent directions. Another important benefit of discipline is that it reduces reliance on external validation. When your actions are driven by desire, you may seek recognition, approval, or immediate results to sustain your motivation. But when you are disciplined, your focus shifts inward. You act because you have made a commitment, not because you expect immediate rewards. This internal focus makes your progress more stable and less dependent on external factors. Discipline also enhances your ability to delay gratification. Many worthwhile goals require time and sustained effort before results become visible. Without discipline, it is tempting to choose short-term rewards over long-term benefits. Discipline strengthens your ability to prioritize what matters most, even if it requires sacrificing immediate comfort or pleasure. There is also a connection between discipline and freedom. At first glance, discipline may seem restricted. It involves rules, routines, and constraints. But in reality, it creates freedom. By managing your time, energy, and actions effectively, you gain more control over your life. You are less likely to be controlled by impulses, distractions, or external pressures. This control allows you to focus on what truly matters. Another important aspect is that discipline builds resilience. When you consistently push yourself to act, even in challenging situations, you become more comfortable with difficulty. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. This increased capacity allows you to take on bigger challenges and pursue more ambitious goals. Discipline also improves your efficiency. When you have clear routines and consistent habits, you reduce wasted time and effort. You spend less time figuring out what to do and more time actually doing it. This efficiency accelerates your progress and allows you to achieve more within the same amount of time. It is also worth noting that discipline can be developed. It is not something you either have or do not have. It is a skill that can be strengthened over time. It starts with small commitments, simple actions that you can consistently follow through on. As you build confidence and consistency, you can gradually increase the level of challenge. This incremental approach makes discipline more sustainable. Another key element is accountability. Holding yourself accountable for your actions reinforces discipline. This can involve setting clear goals, tracking your progress, and reflecting on your performance. It can also involve external accountability, such as sharing your goals with others or working with someone who can provide feedback and support. Discipline also helps you manage distractions. In a world filled with constant interruption and competing demands, staying focused can be challenging. Discipline allows you to prioritize your goals and resist distractions that do not align with them. This focus is essential for making meaningful progress. Another important factor is that discipline aligns your actions with your values. It ensures that what you do on a daily basis reflects what you consider important. Without discipline, there can be a gap between your intentions and your behavior. You may value growth, health, or success, but your actions may not consistently support those values. Discipline closes that gap. It is also important to recognize that discipline requires effort, especially in the beginning. It can feel uncomfortable to establish new routines or break old habits. But over time, it becomes easier. What once required conscious effort becomes automatic. This transition from effort to habit is what makes discipline sustainable. Discipline also influences how you respond to setbacks. When things do not go as planned, it is easy to become discouraged and lose momentum. Discipline helps you maintain your commitment even in those moments. It reminds you that progress is not always linear and that persistence is key. Another dimension of discipline is that it fosters a sense of purpose. When you consistently take action toward your goals, you create a sense of direction in your life. You are not just reacting to circumstances, you are actively shaping your future. This sense of purpose can be deeply motivating and fulfilling. Ultimately, discipline is what turns potential into reality. Many people have ideas, dreams, and aspirations, but without consistent action, those remain unrealized. Discipline provides the framework for turning those ideas into tangible results. It ensures that your efforts are sustained over time, allowing you to make meaningful progress. While desire can ignite the journey, it is discipline that carries you through it. It provides the stability, consistency, and structure needed to navigate challenges and achieve long-term success. By developing discipline, you create a foundation that supports not only your goals, but also your overall growth and development. One of the most common habits that quietly holds people back from growth is complaining. It often feels harmless, just a way to express frustration, to vent, or to explain why things aren't going well. But over time, it becomes more than just words. It becomes a mindset, a pattern of thinking that shapes how you see the world and how you respond to it. And the more you lean into that pattern, the more it keeps you stuck. When you hear voices like Eric Thomas, there's a consistent message: stop talking about the problem and start doing something about it. Complaining might feel like action, but it is not. It does not change your situation. It does not improve your skill. It does not move you forward. The execution does not move you forward. Execution does. Action does. Effort does. Complaining is often rooted in a sense of powerlessness. It focuses on what is wrong, what is unfair, or what is missing. It directs your attention outward towards circumstances you cannot control. And while it may be true that certain situations are difficult or unjust, staying in that mental space does not create progress. It reinforces the idea that you are stuck, that things are happening to you rather than something you can influence. Execution shifts that perspective. It brings your focus back to what you can control. It asks a different question. Not a why is this happening, but what can I do about it? That question immediately changes your role. Instead of being a passive observer of your circumstance, you become an active participant. You begin to look for solutions, options, and next steps. One of the biggest problems with complaining is that it consumes energy without producing results. Every time you focus on what is wrong, you are using mental and emotional energy. But that energy is not being directed toward anything productive. It is being spent without any return. Execution, on the other hand, channels that same energy into action. It turns thought into movement, frustration into effort, and problems into tasks that can be addressed. Complaining can also become a habit that reinforces itself. The more you do it, the easier it becomes to find things to complain about. Your mind starts scanning for problems automatically. Even small inconveniences begin to feel significant because your attention is trained to notice them. Over time, this can create a negative outlook where everything feels more difficult than it actually is. Execution breaks that cycle by shifting your focus. When you are actively working on something, your attention is directed toward progress rather than problems. You start to notice what is working, what is improving, what steps you can take next. This does not mean problems disappear, but they become part of a process rather than something you dwell on endlessly. Another important aspect is that complaining often delays action. It creates a sense that you are addressing the issue when you are not. You talk about it, think about it, maybe even discuss it with others, but you do not take the steps required to change it. This delay can be costly because time continues to move forward. Opportunities pass, momentum is lost, and situations can become more difficult to resolve. Execution creates momentum. Even small actions can shift your situation. When you take a step, you gain new information. You see what works and what does not. You adjust and move forward again. This process builds progress over time. It may not be immediate or dramatic, but it is real. And real progress compounds. Complaining also affects your environment. The way you speak and think influences the people around you. Constant negativity can bring down the energy of a group, making it harder for everyone to stay focused and motivated. In contrast, a focus on execution can be contagious in a positive way. When you take action, you set an example. You create a culture of effort and accountability. There is also a psychological impact to consider. When you complain frequently, you reinforce a narrative that you are a victim of your circumstances. This can weaken your sense of control and reduce your confidence. You begin to feel like your situation is determined by external factors rather than your own actions. Execution challenges that narrative. It reinforces the idea that your actions matter, that you have influence over your outcomes. Execution also builds confidence. Every time you take action and see a result, no matter how small, you strengthen your belief in your ability to create change. This confidence encourages further action, creating a positive cycle. Complaining, on the other hand, can erode confidence because it keeps you focused on problems without solution. Another key point is that execution requires responsibility. It asks you to take ownership of your situation, even when it is not entirely your fault. This can be uncomfortable because it removes excuses. It places the focus on what you can do rather than what others should do. But this sense of ownership is empowering. Because empowering, it gives you control over your response, which is often the most important factor in any situation. It is also important to recognize that execution does not mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine. It means acknowledging reality and then taking steps to improve it. You can recognize that something is difficult or unfair without staying stuck in that recognition. The difference lies in what you do next. Execution also requires clarity. You need to identify what actions are necessary and prioritize them. This involves breaking down larger problems into smaller, manageable steps. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the entire situation, you focus on what you can do right now. This approach makes progress more achievable and reduces the tendency to complain out of frustration. Another important aspect is that execution builds discipline. When you consistently take action, even when it is difficult, you strengthen your ability to follow through. This discipline becomes a valuable asset in all areas of your life. It allows you to pursue goals with consistency and resilience. Complaining often provides short-term relief but long-term stagnation. It allows you to release frustration in the moment, but it does not address the underlying issue. Execution may require more effort up front, but it leads to long-term improvement. It creates solutions, progress, and growth. There is also a difference in how these two approaches affect your mindset. Complaining keeps you focused on limitation. It highlights what you cannot do or what is not working. Execution shifts your focus to possibilities. It encourages you to explore options, test ideas, and find ways forward. Execution also helps you develop problem-solving skills. Each time you take action, you engage with the challenge directly. You learn what works, what does not, and how to adapt. Over time, this builds your ability to handle increasingly complex situations. Complaining does not provide this opportunity because it avoids direct engagement. Another important factor is time. Time is a limited resource. How you use it matters. Complaining consumes time without creating value. Execution uses time to build something, whether it is a skill, a solution, or progress toward a goal. Over the long term, this difference becomes significant. Execution also aligns with growth. Growth requires effort, experimentation, and persistence. It involves stepping outside your comfort zone and taking risks. Complaining often keeps you within your comfort zone because it does not require action. It allows you to stay where you are while expressing dissatisfaction. Execution pushes you beyond that, into a space where change becomes possible. It is also worth noting that execution does not guarantee immediate success. There will be setbacks, mistakes, and challenges. But even in those situations, you are moving forward. You are learning and adapting. Complaining, on the other hand, guarantees stagnation because it does not involve action. Another dimension is how execution influences your sense of purpose. When you are actively working towards something, you create a sense of direction. You feel engaged and focused. This sense of purpose can be motivating and fulfilling. Complaining often lacks this direction. It is reactive rather than proactive. Execution also requires courage. Taking action involves uncertainty. You may not know the outcome. You may face the possibility of failure. Complaining avoids this uncertainty by staying in a space of observation rather than participation. But avoiding action also means avoiding growth. Over time, the difference between these two approaches becomes clear. One leads to progress, learning, and development. The other leads to frustration, stagnation, and a sense of being stuck. The choice between them is often made in small moments, when you decide whether to focus on the problem or take a step toward a solution. Ultimately, shifting from complaining to executing is about changing how you engage with your life. It is about moving from a passive role to an active one. It is about recognizing that while you may not control every situation, you do control your response. And that response is where your power lies. One of the most limiting beliefs people carry is the idea that they need more before they can begin. More money, more time, more knowledge, more connections. There is always something that seems to be missing. This mindset creates a constant delay of feeling that you are not yet ready. But the truth is, waiting for perfect conditions often leads to inaction. The people who make progress are not the ones who have everything. They are the ones who use what they already have. When you listen to individuals like Eric Thomas, a consistent message emerges. Start where you are with what you have and build from there. This idea may seem simple, but it is powerful because it removes excuses. It shifts the focus from what is lacking to what is available. And once you make that shift, your perspective changes. You begin to see possibilities instead of limitation. Every person has resources even if they do not appear significant at first. Time is a resource. Energy is a resource. Skills, even basic ones, are resources. Access to information, people, or tools, these are all resources. The problem is not always the absence of resources. It is often the failure to recognize and utilize them. When you focus only on what you do not have, you overlook what you do. Using your current resources requires awareness. You have to take an honest look at your situation and identify what is available to you. This might involve reassessing things you have taken for granted. For example, the time you spend on distractions could be redirected towards something productive. The skills you already possess could be developed further or applied in new ways. The connections you have, even if limited, could be strengthened and leveraged. Another important aspect is creativity. When resources are limited, you are forced to think differently. You cannot rely on convenience or abundance, so you look for alternative ways to achieve your goals. This often leads to innovation. Many successful ideas and solutions have emerged from constraints, not abundance. Limitations can push you to explore options you might not have considered otherwise. Using what you have also builds confidence. When you take action with limited resources and see progress, you begin to trust your ability to create results. You realize that you are not as dependent on external factors as you once thought. This confidence encourages further action, creating a cycle of growth. Waiting for more resources, on the other hand, can create doubt because you are not actively proving to yourself what you are capable of. Another key point is that resources grow through use. When you actively engage with what you have, you create opportunities for expansion. Skills improve with practice. Connections grow through interaction. Knowledge increases through application. Even financial resources can expand when used wisely. But if you wait for more before you start, you delay this process. Growth happens through action, not preparation alone. There is also a psychological shift that occurs when you focus on using what you have. You move from a mindset of scarcity to one of possibility. Instead of feeling limited, you begin to feel resourceful. This shift affects how you approach challenges. You become more proactive, more solution-oriented, and more resilient. You start to see obstacles as problems to solve, rather than barriers that stop you. Another important factor is that using your current resources forces you to prioritize. When you do not have everything, you have to decide what matters most. This clarity helps you focus your efforts on what will have the greatest impact. It prevents you from spreading yourself too thin or getting distracted by less important tasks. In this way, limitations can actually improve your efficiency. It is also important to recognize that many opportunities are hidden within your current situation. They may not be obvious, but they exist. For example, a job you consider temporary or unimportant may provide skills, experience, or connections that become valuable later. A challenge you are facing may teach you lessons that prepare you for future success. When you engage fully with what you have, you are more likely to uncover these opportunities. Another dimension is that using your resources builds momentum. Action creates movement, and movement creates progress. Even small steps can shift your situation. When you start doing something, you gain new information, new insights, and new possibilities. This momentum can lead to opportunities that were not visible before. Waiting, on the other hand, keeps you in a static position when nothing changes. There is also a connection between resourcefulness and problem solving. When you work with limited resources, you develop the ability to think critically and adapt. You learn to find solutions within constraints. This skill is valuable in any area of life because challenges rarely come with perfect conditions. Being able to navigate limitations is a key part of success. Using what you have also reduces dependence on external validation. When you are actively working with your resources, your focus is on progress rather than approval. You are less concerned with how things appear and more focused on what you are building. This internal focus makes your efforts more consistent and less influenced by outside opinion. Another important aspect is that taking action with what you have helps you identify what you actually need. Sometimes the resources you think you lack are not as essential as you believe. By starting with what you have, you gain clarity about what is truly necessary and what is not. This prevents you from overcomplicating your goals or waiting for things that may not be required. There is also a sense of ownership that comes from using your current resources. When you take responsibility for your situation and work with what is available, you become more engaged. You are not waiting for someone or something else to change your circumstances. You are actively shaping them. This sense of ownership is empowering because it puts you in control of your progress. Another key point is that progress does not require perfection. Many people delay action because they want everything to be ideal before they start. But perfection is rarely achievable, especially at the beginning. Using what you have means accepting that things may not be perfect. It means being willing to start anyway and improve along the way. This approach allows you to learn through experience rather than waiting indefinitely. Using your resources also builds discipline. It requires you to be intentional with your time, energy, and efforts. You cannot afford to waste what you have, so you become more focused and efficient. This discipline becomes a habit that supports long-term success, ensures that as your resources grow, you continue to use them effectively. Another dimension is that action creates visibility. When you start working with what you have, people begin to notice. Opportunities often come through visibility, through others seeing your effort, your skills, and your commitment. If you are not taking action, it is difficult for others to recognize your potential. By using your resources, you create a presence that can attract opportunities. It is also worth noting that many successful people started with very limited resources. What set them apart was not what they had. What's how they used it? They took small opportunities and turned them into larger ones. They used their time, energy, and skills to create progress, even when conditions were not ideal. Their growth was a result of consistent action, not initial abundance. Using what you have also helps you develop patience. Progress may be slow at first, especially with limited resources, but each step builds on the previous one. Over time, these small steps accumulate into significant results. This process teaches you to value consistency and persistence rather than expecting immediate outcomes. Another important factor is that this approach aligns with reality. In most situations, you will never have everything you want before you start. There will always be something missing, something that could make the process easier. Accepting this reality allows you to move forward despite imperfections. It frees you from the need for ideal conditions. Ultimately, using your current resources to create opportunities is about taking responsibility for your starting point. It is about recognizing that while you may not control everything, you do have control over how you use what is available to you. This perspective shifts you from waiting to acting, from hoping to building, from limitation to possibility. When you fully embrace this mindset, you stop seeing your situation as something that holds you back. Instead, you see it as the foundation for what you can create. And from that foundation, you begin to build, step by step, using what you have to move toward what you want. One of the most crucial aspects of achieving lasting success is developing patience and persistence. In a world that constantly glorifies instant gratification, viral success, and overnight breakthroughs, it is easy to underestimate the power of steady, consistent effort. People often compare themselves to others who seem to have achieved results quickly and feel discouraged when their own progress appears slow. Yet those who achieve meaningful, enduring success understand that it is not speed or luck that determines results. It is the willingness to persist, even when progress is invisible, uncomfortable, or delayed. Persistence is more than simply continuing to do something. It is an active choice to keep moving forward, to maintain effort, and to remain committed to a vision even when the path is difficult. Many people give up at the first sign of difficulty, interpreting challenges as insurmountable obstacles rather than opportunities to learn and grow. But persistence transforms obstacles into stepping stones. Each difficulty becomes an opportunity to strengthen skills, build resilience, and refine strategies. The process of persisting is what separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain stagnant. Patience is equally essential. It allows you to recognize that progress often occurs gradually and that meaningful results are rarely immediate. Patience is not passive. It is an active understanding that the work you are putting in today is an investment in the future. While desire and motivation can inspire action in the short term, patience ensures that you remain consistent over the long term, even when progress seems slow or invisible. Without patience, you are likely to abandon your efforts prematurely, just when success might be within reach. Many people underestimate the value of cumulative effort. Success is rarely the result of one breakthrough moment. It is the product of repeated actions, compounded over time. Small, deliberate steps taken consistently are more powerful than sporadic bursts of effort fueled by temporary motivation. This principle applies across every domain, whether it is mastering a skill, building a business, improving your health, or developing relationships. Every action you take, even if it seems minor in the moment, contributes to a larger trajectory. Persistence ensures that you continue to take those small actions, even when results are not immediately apparent. Patience and persistence also work together to create resilience. Life inevitably presents challenges, setbacks, and failures. Those who lack persistence may interpret a single failure as definitive proof that their efforts are futile. Those with patience, however, understand that setbacks are part of the journey. They recognize that challenges are temporary and effort compounded over time will yield results. This mindset allows them to stay engaged rather than discouraged. Resilience emerges from the combination of persistence, continuing to act, and patience, trusting that results will come with time. Another critical element of persistence is the willingness to embrace discomfort. Progress often requires doing things that are difficult, unpleasant, or outside of your comfort zone. The temptation to quit or procrastinate is strongest in these moments. Those who persist understand that discomfort is part of the growth process. They view difficult situations not as reasons to stop, but as opportunities to develop skills, character, and understanding. Over time, repeated exposure to discomfort strengthens mental fortitude and increases confidence in one's ability to handle future challenges. Persistence is also closely tied to learning from failure. Failure is inevitable on the path to success. What distinguishes persistent individuals is their ability to analyze setbacks, extract lessons, and adapt their approach. Instead of giving up when things do not go as planned, they adjust strategies, refine methods, and continue moving forward. Failure is not the end of the journey. It is part of the learning process. Patience allows individuals to see the bigger picture, understanding that immediate results are not the sole measure of progress. In addition, persistence shapes identity. When you consistently show up and continue to work toward your goals, you begin to see yourself as capable and reliable. This self-perception reinforces behavior, creating a positive feedback loop. You begin to internalize the belief that you can overcome challenges, and this belief motivates further effort. On the other hand, quitting too soon reinforces a sense of inadequacy and undermines self-confidence. Persistence builds character, self-trust, and a mindset oriented toward growth. Another critical aspect is that patience allows you to endure uncertainty. The path to success is rarely straightforward. Opportunities may take time to materialize, results may lag behind effort, and outcomes may not be immediately visible. Impatience can lead to frustration, discouragement, and impulsive decision. Patience, however, provides the space to navigate uncertainty with clarity. It allows you to remain focused on a long-term vision rather than being swayed by short-term setbacks or temporary discomfort. Persistence also creates momentum. Every action you take, no matter how small, contributes to progress. When you persist through challenges, you create a sense of forward motion. That momentum builds on itself, making subsequent actions easier and more effective. Conversely, giving up disrupts momentum, often setting you back further than if you had maintained consistent effort. Patience ensures that you maintain this momentum over time, even when the immediate impact of your actions is not visible. Another key aspect is the role of persistence in mastery. Skills and expertise do not develop overnight. Mastery is the product of thousands of hours of deliberate practice, repetition, and refinement. Persistence ensures that you continue practicing, learning, and improving, even when progress is slow. Patience allows you to accept the long timeline required for deep mastery. Without both, skill development is fragmented, inconsistent, and true expertise remains out of reach. Persistence also influences how you respond to external obstacles. Life is unpredictable. Market conditions, competition, personal circumstances, and unforeseen events can create significant challenges. Those who lack persistence may abandon goals at the first sign of external difficulty. Those who are patient and persistent, however, adapt, strategize, and continue their efforts. They recognize that external circumstances are often temporary and that consistent effort is the most reliable pathway to success. Another dimension is the relationship between persistence and creativity. When you continue to work despite obstacles, you are forced to think creatively. You experiment with new approaches, adapt strategies, and innovate solutions. Persistence creates the conditions for problem solving because it compels you to engage with challenges rather than avoid them. Patience allows you to experiment without expecting immediate success, providing the mental space to explore possibilities. Persistence is also essential for long-term goal achievement. Many goals of significance require sustained effort over months or years. Weight loss, building a business, completing a degree, or mastering a craft all require ongoing dedication. Impatience during this process can lead to shortcuts, incomplete work, or abandoning the goal entirely. Persistence ensures that you remain committed to the process, while patience allows you to tolerate the necessary time frame without becoming discouraged. Another important factor is that persistence strengthens resilience in relationships. Collaborating with others, leading teams, or building networks often requires sustained effort and repeated investment. Results in these areas are rarely immediate. Patience allows you to cultivate relationships over time, while persistence ensures that you continue contributing, supporting, and building trust, even when recognition or results are delayed. Persistence also reinforces accountability. When you commit to a goal, following through consistently demonstrates reliability to yourself and others. Each action taken reinforces accountability and builds credibility. Over time, this creates a reputation for dependability and competence. Patience ensures that you maintain this accountability over the long term, even when immediate rewards are not evident. Additionally, persistence develops mental toughness. The repeated practice of continuing to act despite challenges, failures, and setbacks strengthens your ability to endure adversity. This mental toughness is not innate. It is cultivated through deliberate effort. Patience allows you to sustain effort over time, and persistence ensures that you continue acting in alignment with your goals despite adversity. Persistence also amplifies learning. Each attempt, whether successful or not, provides valuable feedback. Consistent effort allows you to accumulate this feedback, identify patterns, and improve your approach. Patience provides the perspective to see incremental progress and to understand that mastery is a gradual process. Together, persistence and patience create a feedback loop that accelerates growth and development. Another dimension is that persistence builds self-confidence. Every time you continue despite difficulty, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of handling challenges. Confidence grows from repeated evidence of competence and resilience. Patience ensures that you allow the process to unfold over time, rather than expecting immediate validation or success. Finally, persistence and patience together foster a mindset oriented toward long-term growth. They shift focus from short-term wins to enduring progress. They teach you to value effort, learning, and adaptability over immediate results. This mindset allows you to approach challenges strategically, persevere through setbacks, and maintain commitment to meaningful goals, ultimately creating a foundation for sustainable success. It's rarely a straight path. It is a journey filled with obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. Those who achieve lasting results are not necessarily the most talented or the luckiest. They are the ones who persist through difficulty, maintain effort despite setbacks, and exercise patience in the face of delayed outcomes. By committing to persistence and embracing patience, you cultivate resilience, build momentum, develop mastery, and create the conditions for meaningful, enduring achievement. One of the most critical yet overlooked factors in achieving meaningful success is the power of mindset. How you think, how you perceive challenges, and how you interpret events in your life shapes not only your decisions, but also the outcomes you create. It is not simply talent, luck, or opportunity that determines your path. Your mindset plays an enormous role in what you can achieve and how you navigate obstacles. Those who develop a growth-oriented, resilient mindset are able to turn challenges into opportunities, failures into lessons, and limitations into stepping stones. In contrast, a fixed or negative mindset can trap even the most capable individuals in patterns of self-doubt, fear, and inaction. A mindset is more than just a set of beliefs. It is the lens through which you interpret the world. It determines how you respond to adversity, whether you see setbacks as temporary obstacles or permanent failure. Those who cultivate a mindset of abundance and possibility tend to approach challenges with curiosity and determination. They see problems as puzzles to solve, not walls that block them. This perspective changes how they act, what risks they take, and ultimately the results they achieve. Mindset shapes behavior, and behavior shapes outcomes. Individuals like Eric Thomas consistently emphasize the importance of cultivating a mindset that prioritizes growth over comfort. A growth mindset is the belief that abilities and intelligence are not fixed traits, but can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. People with this mindset embrace challenges rather than avoid. They view mistakes not as evidence of inadequacy, but as valuable feedback that guides improvement. This mindset creates resilience because setbacks are no longer threats to identity. They are opportunities to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. One of the first steps in developing a powerful mindset is self-awareness. You have to recognize your current thought patterns, habits, and automatic responses. Many people are unaware of the ways their thinking limits them. They might dismiss opportunities because they fear failure, or they might underestimate their potential based on past experience. By observing these patterns without judgment, you gain insight into where your mindset is helping you and where it may be holding you back. Awareness creates the space for intentional change. Another critical aspect of mindset is the ability to reframe challenges. Reframing is the practice of changing the way you interpret a situation so that it becomes an opportunity rather than a threat. For example, instead of thinking, I failed because I'm not good enough, a person with a growth mindset might think, I failed, which shows me what I need to learn to improve. Reframing transforms emotional responses and guides behavior toward constructive action. It allows you to maintain focus, energy, and motivation even in the face of difficulty. Mindset also influences how you handle risk and uncertainty. People with a fixed or fearful mindset often avoid situations where outcomes are uncertain because they perceive failure as a reflection of their identity. Conversely, a growth-oriented mindset sees risk as inherent to progress. It encourages calculated experimentation and persistent effort, understanding that mistakes are part of the learning process. This willingness to embrace uncertainty is critical because meaningful success almost always involves stepping into the unknown and taking action despite imperfect conditions. Another dimension of mindset is resilience. Life is unpredictable and setbacks are inevitable. Those with a strong, flexible mindset are able to absorb these challenges, adapt, and continue moving forward. Resilience does not mean you are unaffected by difficulty. It means that difficulty does not paralyze you or define your trajectory. Your mindset allows you to see challenges as temporary and solvable, giving you the confidence to persist. This resilience is often what separates those who ultimately succeed from those who quit prematurely. The role of mindset and self-perception cannot be overstated. The way you view yourself directly affects the way you act. If you see yourself as capable, resourceful, and resilient, you are more likely to take initiative, pursue ambitious goals, and persist through setbacks. If you see yourself as limited, unlucky, or incapable, your actions will often be tentative, cautious, or avoided. Mindset shapes your sense of agency, the belief that you can influence outcomes through your efforts. The stronger your sense of agency, the more likely you are to take consistent, purposeful action. Mindset also impacts motivation. People with a growth-oriented mindset derive motivation from the process itself, not just the results. They are energized by learning, improvement, and mastery rather than relying solely on external rewards. This intrinsic motivation is more sustainable because it is not dependent on circumstances, recognition, or immediate success. It allows you to stay committed to long-term goals even when external validation is absent or delayed. Another critical element of mindset is how it shapes your response to feedback. Constructive criticism can be a powerful tool for growth, but it can also be threatening to those with a fragile or fixed mindset. Individuals who view feedback as a personal attack often become defensive or discouraged. In contrast, those with a growth-oriented mindset see feedback as information that can guide improvement. They use it to adjust their strategies, refine their skills, and become more effective. This ability to receive and act on feedback accelerates development and enhances performance. Mindset also influences the way you interact with others. People with a positive, growth-oriented mindset tend to collaborate more effectively. They are less threatened by others' success and more likely to learn from peers, mentors, and role models. They approach relationships as opportunities for mutual growth rather than competition. This perspective not only enhances personal development, but also expands networks and access to opportunities, creating a reinforcing cycle of growth and connection. Another important aspect of mindset is the way it shapes goal setting. Those with a growth mindset set goals that are ambitious but realistic, with a focus on improvement rather than perfection. They understand that the path to achievement is not linear and that effort, persistence, and adaptation are required. This perspective reduces the fear of failure and allows for calculated risk-taking, experimentation, and resilience. Goals become a tool for learning and progress rather than a source of anxiety or pressure. Mindset also affects how you handle setbacks emotionally. People with a fixed mindset may experience discouragement, frustration, or even despair when outcomes do not match expectations. They may internalize failure as evidence of inadequacy. Those with a growth-oriented mindset approach setbacks with curiosity and problem solving. They ask questions like, what can I learn? Or how can I improve next time? This emotional regulation is critical because it maintains momentum, energy, and focus in the face of adversity. The way you frame challenges is also closely connected to long-term persistence. Those with a growth mindset are more likely to continue pursuing goals, even after multiple failures, because they view challenges as temporary and solvable. Impatient or fixed mindset individuals are more likely to quit at the first sign of difficulty, missing opportunities for learning and eventual success. A strong mindset reinforces the understanding that mastery, achievement, and fulfillment are long-term processes requiring sustained effort. Mindset also influences creativity and problem solving. When you believe that solutions are possible and that challenges are opportunities to learn, you approach problems with curiosity and flexibility. You are willing to experiment, take risks, and explore unconventional solutions. A fixed or rigid mindset, by contrast, often leads to tunnel vision, avoidance of complexity, and fear of experimentation. By cultivating a mindset that welcomes challenges and embraces learning, you expand your ability to adapt. Another critical dimension is self-compassion and patience. Mindset is not only about striving for improvement, it is also about how you treat yourself during the process. Those with a growth-oriented mindset understand that mistakes are part of learning. By consciously shaping your mindset, you unlock not only your ability to achieve, but also your capacity to thrive, adapt, and find fulfillment in the process. One of the most powerful drivers of lasting success and fulfillment is the principle of intentional focus. In an age of constant distractions, social media, endless notifications, and competing demand, the ability to focus intentionally has become a rare and valuable skill. Many people underestimate the impact that consistent, concentrated effort on a single goal can have over time. They scatter their energy across multiple directions, trying to do everything at once, only to achieve little in the process. Intentional focus, on the other hand, allows you to direct your energy, time, and attention toward what truly matters, multiplying the effectiveness of your efforts and accelerating progress. Intentional focus is more than just paying attention. It is the deliberate act of choosing where to put your mental, emotional, and physical energy and consistently acting in alignment with that choice. Those who master focus understand that their energy is finite and they guard it carefully. They recognize that distractions, even small ones, can erode progress over time. By consciously prioritizing what matters most, they maximize the impact of every action and create momentum toward meaningful goals. When individuals like Eric Thomas speak about focus, they consistently highlight that it is a skill that can be developed and strengthened. Focus is not innate. It is cultivated through practice, discipline, and conscious effort. People often overestimate the importance of talent, intelligence, or luck, and underestimate the value of sustained, concentrated attention. The ability to focus intentionally separates those who achieve long-term results from those who drift aimlessly, even when they possess similar resources or opportunities. Intentional focus begins with clarity. You cannot direct your energy effectively without knowing what your priorities are. This involves setting clear goals and understanding why they matter. Goals act as a compass, guiding your attention toward what will produce the greatest impact. Without clarity, energy is wasted on tasks that are urgent but not important, on activities that feel productive but yield minimal results. Intentional focus ensures that your efforts are aligned with outcomes that truly matter. Another critical aspect of intentional focus is the ability to eliminate distraction. Modern life is filled with constant interruption, emails, messages, notifications, social media, and multitasking demands. Every distraction, no matter how small, pulls attention away from what is important. Intentional focus requires creating an environment and mindset that minimizes these distractions. It may involve setting boundaries, scheduling focused work periods, or consciously deciding what not to engage with. The ability to say no to distractions is as crucial as the ability to say yes to priorities. Focus also requires discipline and self-control. It is easy to be pulled in multiple directions, responding to every demand, request, or temptation. But discipline allows you to maintain attention on what matters most, even when the pull of distraction is strong. This consistency builds momentum because repeated, uninterrupted effort compounds over time. The energy invested in focus produces exponential returns, whereas scattered effort often results in minimal progress. Another dimension of intentional focus is deep work, the ability to immerse yourself fully in a task without interruption. Deep work allows for higher quality output, faster skill development, and more efficient problem solving. Superficial or fragmented attention, in contrast, produces mediocre results and slows progress. Those who cultivate deep focus understand that it requires intentional preparation, including removing distractions, setting clear objectives, and committing to sustained effort. Intentional focus is also tied to time management. Time is the most finite resource you have, and how you allocate it directly affects outcomes. Those who practice intentional focus schedule their time around high-impact activities rather than letting the day control them. They prioritize tasks that move them closer to their goals and avoid spending excessive time on low-value activities. This deliberate allocation of time ensures that effort is concentrated where it produces the greatest returns. Another important aspect is the mental component of focus. It is not enough to physically dedicate time to a task. Your mind must also be fully engaged. Many people go through the motions while their attention is elsewhere, which diminishes effectiveness. Intentional focus requires cultivating mental presence, being fully aware, engaged, and attentive in the moment. This presence allows you to notice details, respond thoughtfully, and execute tasks at a higher level of quality. Focus also enhances learning and skill development. When attention is concentrated on a single skill, subject, or area of growth, learning accelerates. Scattered attention dilutes understanding and retention. Deliberate focused practice allows you to deepen knowledge, refine abilities, and achieve mastery more quickly. This principle applies across every domain, from academics and professional work to personal development and athletic performance. Intentional focus also strengthens resilience and perseverance. Challenges and setbacks are inevitable in any meaningful endeavor. Those who are fully focused on their priorities are less likely to be discouraged by temporary obstacles because their attention remains fixed on the long-term objective. Focus anchors effort, providing stability and direction in the face of uncertainty. Without focus, even minor setbacks can derail progress because attention and energy are easily diverted. Another key factor is the role of selective attention. Intentional focus requires knowing what to ignore as much as knowing what to pursue. Not every opportunity, task, or activity is worth your attention. In fact, much of life is filled with distractions that appear important but do not contribute to meaningful results. The ability to discriminate between high value and low value tasks ensures that your energy is invested wisely. Focus also cultivates accountability. When you commit intentional effort, you are effectively committing to measurable outcomes. Each focused action contributes to a larger goal, and the results of your focus provide immediate feedback. This feedback loop reinforces productive behavior, helping you refine priorities, adjust strategies, and maintain momentum. Lack of focus, in contrast, produces scattered outcomes that make it difficult to measure progress or hold oneself accountable. Another aspect is the compounding effect of consistent focus. Even small, deliberate actions, when executed consistently over time, produce extraordinary results. Focus allows you to invest effort in a targeted way, ensuring that each action builds on the last. Over months and years, this compounding effect multiplies the impact of your work, creating results that far exceed what scattered or inconsistent effort could achieve. Intentional focus is also closely linked to emotional regulation. Distractions are often fueled by emotional impulses, boredom, anxiety, fear, or the desire for immediate gratification. Those who cultivate focus develop the ability to regulate these impulses, maintaining attention on the task at hand rather than succumbing to temporary feelings. This emotional control ensures that effort remains consistent even in challenging or uncomfortable situations. Focus also enhances problem solving and decision making. When attention is concentrated on a specific challenge, you are able to analyze it more deeply, consider options thoroughly, and develop effective solutions. Scattered attention often leads to hasty, reactive decisions that may produce suboptimal outcomes. Intentional focus allows you to approach problems strategically, increasing the likelihood of success. Another dimension is that focus builds confidence. When you consistently dedicate effort to a goal and see measurable progress, it reinforces belief in your ability to achieve. Each milestone reached through concentrated effort strengthens self-efficacy and motivates further action. Conversely, scattered attention and inconsistent effort often undermine confidence because progress is minimal or invisible. Intentional focus also fosters discipline over the long term. Developing the ability to concentrate requires repeated practice and conscious effort. Over time, this discipline becomes a habit, allowing you to engage deeply with tasks even when external motivation is low. The habit of focus ensures that effort is not dependent on mood, energy, or circumstances. It becomes a consistent pattern that drives results. Focus also creates clarity of purpose. When attention is directed intentionally, it becomes easier to see what truly matters and to align actions with long-term objectives. This clarity reduces wasted effort, prevents distractions from derailing progress, and ensures that every step taken contributes meaningfully to goals. Without focus, effort is diffuse and outcomes are fragmented, making it difficult to achieve lasting success. Another critical aspect is that focus enhances creativity. Concentrated attention allows your mind to explore ideas more deeply, make connections between concepts, and develop innovative solutions. Distraction stall and inhibits creative problem solving. Intentional focus creates the mental space for insight, reflection, and breakthrough thinking. Focus also builds momentum through cumulative progress. Each intentional action contributes to a larger trajectory, creating a sense of movement and achievement. Momentum, once established, reinforces effort because progress becomes visible and motivating. Scattered effort, by contrast, produces inconsistent outcomes that fail to generate momentum or sustain engagement. Finally, intentional focus aligns with long-term vision. Success is rarely achieved through sporadic effort or fleeting attention. It requires a sustained commitment to priorities over time. Focus provides the foundation for this commitment, allowing energy, effort, and attention to be consistently directed toward meaningful goals. Those who cultivate focus are able to navigate challenges, maintain progress, and achieve results that are both significant and lasting. By developing intentional focus, you create a framework for excellence. It allows you to act with purpose, prioritize effectively, overcome distractions, and maximize the impact of your efforts. Focus is not a one-time adjustment, but a continuous practice that shapes behavior, strengthens discipline, and amplifies results. In a world filled with competing demands, mastering the skill of intentional focus is not only a pathway to success, it's the difference between scattered effort and extraordinary achievement. One of the most overlooked yet powerful principles in achieving lasting success is the ability to master your habits. Habits shape our daily lives, dictate our actions, and ultimately determine the trajectory of our success. While many people focus on motivation, talent, or external circumstances as the keys to achievement, the truth is that consistent, positive habits create compounding results that far outweigh sporadic bursts of effort. Habits are the invisible architecture of success. They are the small, repeated actions that, over time, produce extraordinary outcomes. Understanding and mastering this concept is critical to long-term growth and fulfillment. Habits are powerful because they operate largely below the level of conscious thought. Much of what we do every day, brushing our teeth, driving a familiar route, or checking our phones, it's habitual. This automatic behavior frees mental energy for more complex tasks. But it also means that our patterns of action can either propel us forward or hold us back. Those who cultivate habits intentionally can leverage this mechanism to create consistent progress toward their goals. Conversely, those who allow habits to form passively may find themselves stuck in cycles that limit growth, productivity, and fulfillment. The first step in mastering habits is awareness. You must observe your daily routines and recognize which habits are helping you and which are hindering you. Many people are unaware of the habits that drive their behaviors. They may complain about lack of progress while unconsciously engaging in patterns that undermine their efforts. By taking stock of your routines, you gain clarity about where change is needed. This process of awareness creates a foundation for intentional action and empowers you to design habits that align with your goals. One of the most important aspects of habit formation is consistency. Habits are not developed overnight. They are the result of repeated actions over time. Even small, seemingly insignificant actions can have a profound impact if performed consistently. For example, reading 10 pages of a book daily, exercising for 10 minutes, or saving a small amount of money regularly may appear minor in isolation, but over months and years, these actions accumulate into substantial progress. Consistency is the engine that transforms behavior into habit into results. Another critical principle is starting small. One of the biggest mistakes people make is attempting to overhaul their routines completely, expecting immediate transformation. Massive, sudden changes often lead to burnout, frustration, and eventual abandonment. Instead, focus on small, achievable adjustments that can be maintained over time. Small habits are easier to implement, require less mental energy, and create a sense of progress that reinforces continued effort. Over time, these small habits can be expanded and compounded to produce significant results. Habits are also closely tied to identity. The actions we take repeatedly shape how we perceive ourselves. If you consistently engage in positive behaviors, you begin to internalize the belief that you are capable, disciplined, and committed. This self-perception reinforces your behavior, creating a virtuous cycle. Conversely, if you allow negative or unproductive habits to dominate, you may begin to see yourself as incapable or inconsistent, which further perpetuates limiting patterns. Mastering habits is not only about action, it is about shaping the person you become. Another essential aspect of habit formation is environment design. Our surroundings play a powerful role in influencing behavior. Simple changes, such as removing distractions, organizing your workspace, or placing visual reminders, can make desired behaviors easier and more automatic. Conversely, environments that encourage distraction, procrastination, or unhealthy choices can undermine your efforts. By intentionally designing your environment to support positive habits, you reduce the reliance on willpower and make it easier to act consistently. Habit stacking is another effective technique. This involves linking a new habit to an existing one so that it becomes easier to implement. For example, if you already brush your teeth every morning, you could stack a new habit of stretching for 2 minutes immediately afterward. By attaching a new behavior to an established routine, you create a mental trigger that reinforces conceit and reduces friction in forming the habit. This method leverages existing patterns to accelerate the development of new, productive behaviors. Tracking progress is also essential in mastering habits. Monitoring your behavior provides accountability and creates feedback that reinforces consistency. Simple tools such as journals, habit trackers, or a digital app can help you visualize progress and identify areas for improvement. When you see tangible evidence of growth, it strengthens motivation and encourages continued effort. Conversely, ignoring progress or failing to track behavior can make it difficult to recognize improvement, leading to frustration and potential abandonment. Another crucial principle is replacing bad habits rather than simply attempting to eliminate them. Habits are often deeply ingrained, and trying to quit a negative behavior without a replacement can lead to relapse. Instead, focus on substituting unproductive habits with positive alternatives that fulfill a similar need. For example, replacing mindless snacking with a healthier activity or swapping procrastination with a structured task can redirect energy in a productive direction. This approach ensures that the behavioral pattern is maintained while aligning it with your goals. Your habits are also deeply influenced by emotional and psychological factors. Motivation fluctuates, and willpower is finite, so relying solely on short-term drivers is insufficient for lasting change. Successful habit formation requires strategies that account for emotional state, stress, and mental energy. Building habits that are resilient to emotional ups and downs, such as automatic routines, environmental steps, ensures sustainability even when motivation wanes. Another critical factor is the compounding effect of habits. Small positive actions, when repeated over time, create exponential growth. For example, consistent study, practice, or exercise may produce minimal visible results initially, but the accumulated effect over months or years is transformative. Similarly, negative habits compound in the opposite direction, gradually eroding health, productivity, and fulfillment. Understanding this compounding nature emphasizes the importance of intentionally cultivating habits that serve long-term objectives. Accountability plays a significant role in habit mastery. Whether through personal tracking, sharing goals with a friend, or engaging with a mentor, external accountability reinforces internal commitment. Accountability creates a sense of responsibility and encourages consistency, making it less likely for habits to falter. Those who successfully master habits often leverage both internal motivation and external structures to maintain momentum over time. The timing and sequencing of habits also matter. Certain behaviors are more effective when performed consistently at specific times or in particular contexts. Morning routines, for instance, set the tone for the day and influence productivity, mindset, and energy levels. Evening habits, such as reflection and planning, prepare the mind for recovery and future success. Structuring habits around optimal timing and sequence enhances their effectiveness and ensures that they contribute to overall growth. Another important aspect is resilience in the face of setbacks. Habit formation is rarely linear. Missed days, interruptions, or lapses are inevitable. The critical factor is how you respond. Persistent individuals view setbacks as temporary and continue their efforts without self-judgment. This resilience prevents a single lapse from derailing long-term progress. Habits are built over time, and continuity rather than perfection is the key to mastery. Habits also influence decision-making. When positive behaviors become automatic, they reduce cognitive load and mental fatigue. By automating beneficial actions, you preserve energy for higher-level decision, problem-solving, and creativity. Conversely, unproductive habits drain mental resources, leaving less capacity for focused, deliberate action. Mastering habits optimizes mental bandwidth, allowing consistent, effective performance. Habits also reinforce self-discipline. Each time you engage in a positive habit despite discomfort, fatigue, or competing demands, you strengthen your capacity for self-control. This discipline carries over into other areas of life, enhancing resilience, persistence, and focus. By cultivating habits intentionally, you build both the behaviors and the internal strength required for sustained success. Another dimension of habit mastery is the social and environmental influence. Surrounding yourself with people who model positive habits, support your goals, and encourage consistency creates a reinforcing environment. Similarly, removing triggers that encourage negative behaviors reduces the likelihood of relapse. Your social and environmental context profoundly shapes habit formation, and deliberate adjustments can dramatically enhance success. Habits also affect mindset and perception. Consistent actions reinforce beliefs about capability, identity, and potential. When you follow through on habits, you internalize the belief that you are disciplined, reliable, and committed. This self-perception fuels further effort and reduces self-doubt. In contrast, inconsistent habits undermine confidence and reinforce limiting beliefs. Mastering habits is therefore as much about shaping identity as it is about performing actions. Another key element is the role of incremental improvement, often referred to as the principle of continuous growth or CASA. Habits allow for steady compounding progress through small, deliberate improvements over time. Rather than seeking massive, immediate transformation, habit mastery emphasizes consistent refinement, learning, and adaptation. This approach ensures sustainable progress and prevents burnout, as each incremental step is achievable and reinforces momentum. Finally, mastering habits is not just about productivity. It is about creating a life aligned with purpose and values. Habits influence how you spend your time, manage energy, and allocate attention. By designing habits intentionally, you align daily behaviors with long-term goals, fostering fulfillment, growth, and resilience. Positive habits create structure, predictability, and momentum, making it easier to pursue ambitious objectives while maintaining balance and well-being. Mastering habits is a lifelong process, but it is the cornerstone of consistent achievement. Habits compound over time, shape identity, reinforce discipline, and optimize performance. Those who intentionally cultivate positive routines, eliminate unproductive behaviors, and persist through setbacks create a foundation for extraordinary results. By focusing on habit formation, you leverage the power of consistency, compound growth, and behavioral design to transform effort into lasting success and fulfillment. One of the most transformative principles in achieving meaningful success is the willingness to embrace discomfort as a necessary part of growth. Most people naturally seek comfort. It feels safe, familiar, and predictable. But comfort, while appealing, often becomes a trap. It keeps you in routines that feel easy but do not challenge you. And over time, it limits your progress. Growth does not happen in comfort. It happens when you stretch beyond what is familiar and push into areas that feel uncertain, difficult, or even intimidating. When voices like Eric Thomas speak about success, they often highlight this truth. If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. And doing something new almost always comes with discomfort. It may show up as fear, doubt, fatigue, or resistance. The key is not to avoid these feelings, but to understand them and move forward anyway. Discomfort is often misunderstood as a signal to stop. Many people interpret it as a warning that something is wrong. But in reality, discomfort is often a signal that you are stepping outside your current limits. It is an indicator that you are engaging with something new, something that requires effort and adaptation. When you reframe discomfort in this way, it changes your relationship with it. Instead of seeing it as a barrier, you begin to see it as part of the process. One of the reasons discomfort is so powerful is that it forces growth. When you face a challenge that stretches your abilities, your mind and body respond by adapting. Skills improve, understanding deepens, confidence increases. But this adaptation only happens when you are pushed beyond your current level. If you stay within your comfort zone, there is no need for change, and therefore no growth. Another important aspect is that discomfort builds resilience. Every time you face something difficult and push through it, you strengthen your ability to handle future challenges. What once felt overwhelming begins to feel manageable. Over time, your tolerance for difficulty increases. This resilience becomes a critical asset because life will inevitably present obstacles. The more comfortable you become with discomfort, the more prepared you are to navigate those challenges. Discomfort also reveals your true potential. When things are easy, it is difficult to know what you are truly capable of. It is only when you are tested that your abilities are fully engaged. Challenges force you to think differently, to problem solve, and to dig deeper than you normally would. In these moments, you often discover strengths and capabilities that you did not realize you had. Another key point is that discomfort is temporary, but growth is lasting. The feeling of difficulty, fear, or resistance does not last forever. It fades as you adapt and improve, but the skills, knowledge, and confidence you gain remain. When you focus on the long-term benefits rather than the short-term discomfort, it becomes easier to push through difficult moments. Discomfort is also closely tied to learning. When you encounter something unfamiliar or challenging, your brain is actively working to understand and process it. This is where real learning happens. Easy tasks do not require much mental effort, so they do not contribute significantly to growth. Difficult tasks, on the other hand, demand attention, effort, and engagement. They create the conditions for deeper understanding and skill development. Another important dimension is that discomfort helps you break limiting patterns. Many habits and routines are built around avoiding difficulty. You may procrastinate, choose easier tasks, or avoid situations that feel challenging. While these behaviors provide short-term relief, they limit long-term progress. By intentionally stepping into discomfort, you disrupt these patterns and create new ones that support growth and achievement. Discomfort also strengthens discipline. It requires you to act even when you do not feel like it. This ability to follow through despite resistance is a key component of success. Discipline is not about doing what is easy, it's about doing what is necessary. And often what is necessary is uncomfortable. By consistently choosing action over comfort, you build the discipline needed to achieve your goals. Another aspect is that discomfort creates focus. When you are faced with a challenging situation, your attention naturally sharpens. You become more engaged, more aware, and more present. This heightened focus allows you to perform at a higher level and make better decisions. In contrast, comfort can lead to complacency, where attention drifts and performance declines. Discomfort also plays a role in building confidence. At first, it may seem counterintuitive, but confidence is not built by avoiding difficulty. It is built by facing it. Every time you overcome a challenge, you reinforce the belief that you are capable. This belief becomes stronger with each experience, creating a foundation of self-trust. Over time, you begin to approach challenges with a sense of assurance rather than fear. Another important point is that discomfort expands your comfort zone. What feels difficult today may feel normal tomorrow if you engage with it consistently. This expansion allows you to take on increasingly complex and challenging tasks. Your range of capability grows, and with it, your opportunities. Without discomfort, this expansion would not occur. Discomfort is also essential for achieving excellence. Mediocrity is often comfortable because it does not require pushing beyond basic effort. Excellence, however, demands more. It requires attention to detail, continuous improvement, and a willingness to go beyond what is easy. This level of effort is inherently uncomfortable, but it is what separates average results from exceptional ones. Another dimension is that discomfort helps you develop patience. Growth is not immediate. It requires time, effort, and repeated exposure to challenges. Discomfort teaches you to stay engaged during this process, even when results are not visible. It reinforces the understanding that progress is gradual and that persistence is necessary. Discomfort also encourages adaptability. When you are placed in unfamiliar situations, you have to adjust. You learn to think on your feet, to respond to new information, and to find solutions under pressure. This adaptability is a valuable skill because it allows you to navigate a wide range of situations with confidence and effectiveness. Another key factor is that discomfort aligns with purpose. Meaningful goals are rarely easy. They require effort, sacrifice, and commitment. If a goal does not challenge you, it is unlikely to create significant growth or fulfillment. Discomfort is often a sign that you are working towards something that matters. It indicates that you are investing effort into something meaningful. Discomfort also reduces fear over time. The more you expose yourself to challenging situations, the less intimidating they become. What once caused anxiety and hesitation becomes familiar. This reduction in fear allows you to take on new challenges with greater ease and confidence. It creates a cycle where action reduces fear, and reduced fear encourages further action. Another important aspect is that discomfort fosters humility and learning. When you are challenged, you are reminded that there is always more to learn. This keeps you open to feedback, improvement, and growth. Comfort, on the other hand, can lead to overconfidence or stagnation, where learning slows down. Discomfort also helps you prioritize what truly matters. When you are willing to endure difficulty for a goal, it often means that the goal is important to you. This clarity helps you focus your energy and avoid distractions. It aligns your actions with your values and long-term objectives. Another dimension is that discomfort builds mental toughness. It trains you to stay steady under pressure, to manage stress, and to maintain focus in challenging situations. This mental strength is essential for achieving long-term success because it allows you to persist even when circumstances are difficult. Discomfort also creates a sense of accomplishment. Overcoming challenges provides a deeper level of satisfaction than completing easy tasks. It reinforces your effort and validates your progress. This sense of achievement motivates further action and strengthens your commitment to your goals. It is also important to recognize that discomfort should be approached with intention. Not all discomfort is productive. The goal is to engage with challenges that promote growth, not to overwhelm yourself unnecessarily. This requires balance, pushing yourself while also allowing time for recovery and reflection. Another key point is that discomfort is a shared experience. Everyone who achieves something meaningful goes through it. It is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are progressing. Understanding this can help normalize the experience and reduce the tendency to avoid it. Ultimately, embracing discomfort is about changing your relationship with challenge. It is about recognizing that the path to growth is not meant to be easy. It is meant to stretch you, to test you, and to develop you. When you stop resisting discomfort and start using it as a tool, you unlock a powerful pathway to progress. By leaning into discomfort rather than avoiding it, you create opportunities for growth, build resilience, and expand your capabilities. You move beyond the limitations of your comfort zone and begin to operate at a higher level. And over time, this willingness to face difficulty becomes one of the defining factors in your ability to achieve meaningful, lasting success. One of the most defining factors in achieving meaningful success is the ability to take full ownership of your life. This idea sounds simple, but in practice, it is one of the hardest shifts a person can make. It requires you to stop blaming circumstance, other people, or past experiences for where you are, and instead accept responsibility for where you are going. Ownership is not about ignoring reality or pretending challenges do not exist. It is about recognizing that regardless of your situation, your response is always within your control. When you listen to voices like Eric Thomas, there is a recurring theme. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you react to it. This distinction is powerful because it shifts your focus from what is outside your control to what is within it. Yeah. And that shift is where your power lies. Many people fall into the habit of externalizing responsibility. They point to their environment, their upbringing, their lack of resources, or the actions of others as the reasons for their current situation. While these factors can influence your path, staying focused on them often leads to a sense of helplessness. It creates a mindset where you feel like a victim of circumstances rather than an active participant in your life. Ownership breaks that pattern by redirecting your attention to your choices, your actions, and your decisions. Taking ownership means acknowledging reality without excuses. It requires honesty. You have to be willing to look at your situation clearly and accept your role, and even when that is uncomfortable. This does not mean blaming yourself for everything, but it does mean recognizing where your actions or lack of action have contributed to your current position. This level of honesty creates a foundation for change because you cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. Ownership also shifts your language. Instead of saying, I can't because, or if this happened to me, you begin to say, what can I do next? Or how can I improve this situation? This change in language reflects a deeper change in thinking. It moves you from a passive mindset to an active one. It turns problems into challenges, into opportunities for action. Another important aspect of ownership is accountability. When you take responsibility for your actions, you hold yourself to a higher standard. You no longer rely on external pressure to stay committed. Instead, you create internal expectations that guide your behavior. This accountability strengthens discipline because you are no longer acting based on convenience or mood. You are acting based on commitment. Ownership also eliminates excuses. Excuses are often used to justify inaction or to protect your self-image when things do not go as planned. They may provide temporary comfort, but they prevent growth. When you take ownership, excuses lose their power. You focus on solutions instead of explanation. You ask, what can I do differently? Rather than why did this happen? Another key point is that ownership creates clarity. When you accept responsibility for your direction, you begin to think more intentionally about your goals and actions. You are no longer drifting or reacting to circumstances. You are making deliberate choices about how you spend your time, energy, and effort. This clarity helps you prioritize what matters most and avoid distractions that do not align with your objectives. Ownership also builds confidence. At first, taking responsibility can feel overwhelming because it removes the safety net of blame. But over time, it becomes empowering. Each time you take action and see results, you reinforce the belief that you can influence your outcomes. This sense of control builds confidence and encourages further action. Another important dimension is that ownership improves decision-making. When you recognize that your choices have consequences, you become more thoughtful about the decisions you make. You consider the long-term impact rather than focusing only on short-term comfort. This leads to better outcomes because your actions are aligned with your goals. Ownership also strengthens resilience. When you encounter setbacks, it is easy to become discouraged if you feel like things are happening to you. But when you take ownership, you view setbacks differently. You see them as part of the process rather than as final outcomes. You ask what you can learn and how you can adjust. This perspective allows you to recover more quickly and continue moving forward. Another aspect is that ownership encourages continuous improvement. When you take responsibility for your growth, you are constantly looking for ways to get better. You seek feedback, reflect on your actions, and make adjustments. This ongoing process of improvement leads to steady progress over time. Ownership also influences how you handle success. When you achieve something, you recognize the effort and choices that led to that result. This reinforces positive behavior and helps you replicate success in other areas. It also creates a sense of pride and satisfaction because you know that your actions played a key role in the outcome. Another key point is that ownership creates independence. When you rely on others or external conditions to determine your progress, you limit your ability to move forward. Ownership frees you from that dependence. It allows you to take initiative and create opportunity rather than waiting for them. Ownership also affects your relationships. That's when you take responsibility for your actions and communication, you contribute to healthier, more constructive interactions. You are more likely to address issues directly, take responsibility for mistakes, and work towards solutions. This builds trust and respect with others. Another dimension is that ownership aligns your actions with your values. When you take responsibility for your life, you are more intentional about living in a way that reflects what matters to you. You make choices that are consistent with your goals and principles, creating a sense of integrity and purpose. Ownership also requires courage. It is not always easy to accept responsibility, especially when things go wrong. It can be uncomfortable to admit mistakes or to face the consequences of your actions. But this courage is what allows you to grow. It opens the door to learning and improvement. Another important factor is that ownership shifts your focus to solutions. Instead of dwelling on problems, you look for ways to address them. This proactive approach increases your effectiveness because you are constantly moving toward progress rather than staying stuck. Ownership also enhances your sense of purpose. When you take control of your direction, you create a clear path for your efforts. You are not just reacting to life, you are shaping it. This sense of direction can be deeply motivating and fulfilling. Another key aspect is that ownership builds consistency. When you are responsible for your actions, you are more likely to follow through on your commitments. This consistency is essential for achieving long-term goals because progress is built on repeated effort over time. Ownership also reduces frustration. When you stop focusing on what you cannot control, you free up mental energy to focus on what you can. This shift reduces feeling of helplessness and increases your ability to take constructive action. Another dimension is that ownership encourages learning. When you take responsibility for your outcomes, you are more open to feedback and new ideas. You recognize that growth requires adaptation and that there's always something to learn. Ownership also helps you navigate uncertainty. When situations are unclear or unpredictable, your ability to take responsibility for your response becomes even more important. It allows you to stay grounded and focused, even when external conditions are unstable. Another important point is that ownership creates momentum. Each action you take builds on the previous one, creating a sense of progress. This momentum makes it easier to continue moving forward and to tackle larger challenges. Ownership also reinforces self-discipline. When you hold yourself accountable, you develop the ability to act consistently, even when it is difficult. This discipline becomes a key factor in achieving your goals. Another aspect is that ownership empowers you to redefine your narrative. Instead of being defined by your past or your circumstances, you begin to define yourself by your actions and your choices. This shift allows you to create a new path based on where you want to go, not where you have been. Ultimately, taking ownership is about recognizing that you are responsible for your direction. It is about understanding that while you may not control every situation, you do control your response. And that response determines your progress. When you fully embrace ownership, you move from a passive role to an active one. You stop waiting for change and start creating it. You stop making excuses and start finding solutions. And in doing so, you unlock your ability to grow, adapt, and achieve meaningful success over time. One of the most profound realizations on the journey toward meaningful success is that fulfillment does not come from accumulation alone. It is not found in constantly chasing more money, more recognition, more possessions, more status. While ambition and growth are important, there is a deeper layer that determines whether success actually feels satisfying. That layer is gratitude. Without gratitude, achievement can feel empty, temporary, and never enough. With gratitude, even small progress can feel meaningful, grounding, and fulfilling. This idea is central to the message often shared by voices like Eric Thomas, who emphasize that success is not just about what you gain, but also by how you perceive and appreciate what you already have. Gratitude is not passive. It is an active mindset, a conscious decision to recognize value in your current situation while still striving for growth. Many people fall into the trap of constantly moving the goalpost. They believe that once they achieve a certain milestone, they will feel satisfied. But when they reach that point, the satisfaction is short-lived. A new goal replaces the old one, and the cycle continues. This pattern creates a sense of endless chasing, where fulfillment is always just out of reach. Gratitude breaks that cycle by anchoring you in the present. It allows you to recognize progress, appreciate your journey, and find meaning in what you have already achieved. Gratitude shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance. When you are constantly focused on what you lack, it creates a sense of insufficiency. No matter how much you achieve, it never feels like enough. But when you practice gratitude, you begin to notice what is already present. Your opportunity, your growth, your relationships, your experiences. This shift does not eliminate ambition. It enhances it. It allows you to pursue more from a place of appreciation rather than desperation. Another important aspect of gratitude is that it strengthens resilience. Life is not always smooth. There will be challenges, setbacks, and moments of uncertainty. In those moments, it is easy to focus on what is going wrong. Gratitude provides balance. It reminds you that even in difficult situations, there are still things to appreciate. Lessons learned, strengths developed, support received. This perspective helps you stay grounded and maintain a sense of stability, even when circumstances are challenging. Gratitude also enhances your relationships. When you recognize and appreciate the people in your life, it changes how you interact with them. You become more present, more supportive, and more connected. This creates stronger, more meaningful relationships, which are a key component of lasting fulfillment. Success without connection often feels hollow. Gratitude ensures that you value the people who contribute to your journey. Another key point is that gratitude improves your mental and emotional well-being. When you regularly focus on what is positive and meaningful, it reduces stress, anxiety, and negativity. It creates a more balanced outlook, where challenges are acknowledged but not overwhelming. This emotional stability allows you to approach your goals with clarity and focus. Gratitude also reinforces motivation. It may seem counterintuitive, but appreciating what you have does not reduce your drive. It strengthens it. When you recognize your progress, you build confidence in your ability to continue moving forward. You are reminded that your efforts are producing results, which encourages further action. Gratitude turns progress into fuel rather than something you overlook. Another important dimension is that gratitude helps you stay present. Many people spend so much time thinking about the future that they miss the value of the present moment. They are always focused on what comes next, what needs to be achieved, what is still missing. Gratitude brings your attention back to now. It allows you to experience your journey fully rather than constantly rushing through it. Gratitude also influences how you handle success. When you achieve something, it is easy to immediately move on to the next goal without acknowledging what you have accomplished. This can create a sense of emptiness where achievements feel less meaningful. Gratitude encourages you to pause, reflect, and appreciate your progress. This reflection deepens your sense of satisfaction and reinforces your efforts. Another aspect is that gratitude reduces comparison. In a world where it is easy to see what others are doing, comparison can become a major source of dissatisfaction. You may feel like you are behind or not doing enough but doing enough. Gratitude shifts your focus inward and helps you appreciate your own journey rather than measuring it against someone else's. This reduces unnecessary pressure and allows you to move at your own pace. Gratitude also fosters humility. It reminds you that your success is not solely the result of your own efforts. There are always external factors, support from others, opportunities, timing, and circumstances that play a role. Recognizing this creates a sense of humility and appreciation, which keeps you grounded even as you achieve more. Another key point is that gratitude aligns with purpose. When you appreciate what you have, you are more likely to use it meaningfully. You recognize the value of your time, your skills, and your opportunities, and you are more intentional about how you use them. This alignment creates a deeper sense of fulfillment because your actions are connected to something meaningful. Gratitude also encourages generosity. When you feel a sense of abundance, you are more willing to share your time, your knowledge, your resources. This creates a positive cycle where giving leads to connection and connection leads to greater fulfillment. Success becomes not just about personal gain, but about contribution. Another dimension is that gratitude builds patience. When you appreciate your current position, you are less likely to feel rushed or frustrated by the pace of your progress. You understand that growth takes time and that each step has value. This patience allows you to stay consistent and committed over the long term. Gratitude also enhances perspective. It helps you see the bigger picture beyond immediate challenges or frustrations. You recognize that setbacks are temporary and that your journey includes both highs and lows. This broader perspective reduces emotional extremes and helps you stay balanced. Another important aspect is that gratitude can be practiced intentionally. It is not just something you feel, it is something you do. Simple actions like reflecting on what you are thankful for, acknowledging progress, or expressing appreciation to others can strengthen this mindset. Over time, these practices become habits that shape how you see the world. Gratitude also influences how you define success. Instead of measuring success solely by external achievements, you begin to consider internal factors: growth, learning, relationships, and fulfillment. This broader definition creates a more sustainable and meaningful sense of success. Another key point is that gratitude helps you avoid burnout. Constantly striving without appreciating your progress can lead to exhaustion and frustration. Gratitude provides balance. It allows you to recognize your efforts and recharge mentally and emotionally. This balance is essential for maintaining long-term motivation. Gratitude also deepens your sense of meaning. When you appreciate your experiences, you engage with them more fully. You recognize their value and their impact on your growth. This creates a richer, more meaningful life experience. Another dimension is that gratitude strengthens your mindset. It reinforces positive thinking patterns and reduces the tendency to focus on negativity. This mental shift supports resilience, motivation, and overall well-being. Gratitude also connects to legacy. When you appreciate what you have, you are more likely to think about how you can use it to make a difference. You begin to consider not just what you achieve, but how your actions impact others. This creates a sense of purpose that extends beyond personal success. Another important aspect is that gratitude and ambition can coexist. You do not have to choose between appreciating what you have and striving for more. In fact, they complement each other. Gratitude keeps you grounded, while ambition keeps you moving forward. Together, they create a balanced approach to success. Gratitude also helps you navigate transition. As you move from one stage of life to another, it allows you to appreciate where you have been while embracing where you are going. This creates a sense of continuity and reduces uncertainty. Another key point is that gratitude is a choice. It is not dependent on circumstances. You can choose to focus on what is positive and meaningful regardless of your situation. This choice empowers you to shape your experience rather than being controlled by external factors. Ultimately, gratitude transforms how success feels. It turns achievement into fulfillment, progress into meaning, and effort into appreciation. It ensures that as you grow and achieve, you do not lose sight of what truly matters. When you integrate gratitude into your life, you create a foundation for lasting fulfillment. You are no longer chasing success in a way that leaves you empty. Instead, you are building a life where growth and appreciation exist together, where ambition is balanced with contentment, and where success is not just something you achieve, but something you experience deeply every step of the way.